Probably the hot air in the community caused it to list is what it is.
You were good. Ready when you are.
Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 3:01, and I'll send that for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So roll call.
He's not online.
Okay, so in attendance, we have Carol, Doug, Ed, and myself, and Bob is absent. I need a motion for the approval of the final agenda. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment? Do we have public
I have
comment? Chelsea?
three.
Okay.
One agenda and two non-agenda. The first one is for agenda item 7A. I'm putting Doug on the spot right away. About the use of Tetra Tech for management of the Pond 36 bank erosion. Reminder, 3 minutes. Please announce yourself.
Doug Zander. I'm the Ponds Group, president of Ponds Group, or head of the Ponds Group subcommittee. My request to the board is somehow, maybe 2 meetings ago, all engineering or all stuff related to projects needed to use Tetra Tech. That's my understanding. And Chelsea came to me and said we needed to use them for CEI on the project Pond 36. And we got a task authorization from Tetra Tech for 39,000, what, 400 and some dollars, 39,000 and some change to do that. My request, first of all, this is the same stuff we've done for the last 6 years, the same technology. And my request is to be able to, instead of the additional 39,000, I'd like us to be able to use the Ponds Group. We have a couple members that have actually done these projects, been involved with the projects, and we also have district staff with Daniel. I would like to say that I do not want to spend the additional 39,000. We've already spent 40,000 with Tetra Tech to do the prioritization and verification of the design and the right to bid specs. So, I think you were there, weren't you, where the board, the PPAC board, I told them I didn't want them to vote because I was going to present to you whether they wanted me to or not, but they voted to agree to not use them. The PPAC group voted to recommend to not use them. So that's my request to the group.
And it was a unanimous vote.
Yeah, it was a unanimous vote.
Who over at PPAC is going to take the risk of signing off on professional services?
I do that today.
Do you have a license?
No, I don't have a license.
I got it. That's not safe doing this. Not really safe doing this at all.
What are we signing off
So
on?
hold on. Are you done with your comments? Because I don't want us to engage in
Yeah.
conversation right now.
Yeah, we can do it.
Do that later.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
All right, next we have Margaret Feinberg from Stony Brook regarding the weirs, storm drains, it says fish, and then storm drain cleaning.
Margaret Feinberg, Stony Brook Gateway, and I'm here just myself. I just wanted to make sure that somebody has gone out and inspected all the weirs and flowways to make sure that there is not any obstructions anywhere. We did flood in Stony Brook. I heard that there was some flooding on Gateway Boulevard. I just want to make sure that all of the flowways are flowing because we're like the top of the system. And our catch basins are full of dead fish now that are floating at the top, right next to the grates. And there's flies and maggots and they stink. And I wondered if there's any way, is anybody going to go around and check those and clean them out so that that just doesn't continue rotting until those fish disappear.
The ones that got trapped.
Ones that got trapped, yeah. And it's throughout the community, there's a lot of dead fish in those catch basins. And I know that you rejected a lot of the bids at the last meeting or meeting before. I wasn't here, but the decision was made to go ahead and do part of Basin 4. Is that correct?
It's already being done.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And what communities are included in Basin 4?
A lot. A lot.
Essentially, anybody from Stony Brook and Hampton Park south.
Okay.
South.
Does that include actual cleaning of the pipes and storm and catch basins, or what
I know
is?
there are five. That's
Stony
not
Brook's
five. So would you
Stony
get
Brook's
Daniel, would you
what?
get Daniel to get
Stony Brook is-
Margaret and then go over her questions? Because mainly they're all with Daniel.
Yeah,
Stony
we've-
Brook's 3, not 5.
Okay.
Staff have,
5 is south of Gateway Greens.
staff, any fish that they've come across, staff has picked up, but we'll get eyes on it again.
Okay, because I know Hampton
We-
Park also has the same issue with the fish.
Okay.
Whereabouts?
Hampton Park, Astor Lane and Kenwood.
So is there any
Yeah.
guesstimate on when, you said we're Basin 5, when Basin
You're
5?
Basin 3.
We're Basin 3. Okay, I misunderstood that. Any idea of when Basin 3 will be cleaned?
It has to be brought back
Has-
to the
We have to
bid.
draft, we have to draft the RFP with Tetra Tech, and then
Tetra Tech has to.
Tetra Tech has to draft it, and then we'll push it out to bid, and I would say next year.
Well,
Okay,
The
so,
good thing about stormwater is that you can do it underwater. You
right,
can do the cleaning and you can do the televising underwater.
Right.
Not the easiest way to do it. Sanitary sewers don't do anything like that. That's
Right.
stupid. You don't try that.
correct.
With stormwater, we could, but it's just a matter of going through the procurement process. now.
We did, just so you know, authorized extreme divers to go out and hit some
The
areas,
emergency ones, yeah.
the emergency ones, which there were some in Stony Brook that they did hit.
Okay.
That was on
You-
last Saturday.
So then
Okay,
Then if you can have Daniel reach out to Margaret and.
yeah, I'd like to know where those
Yeah.
were.
The one that you.
But they
brought up,
have put eyes on the flowways and the weirs.
That's
They
what
were
was my
there.
question.
I was
Okay.
there too, so
Okay.
I know, I talked to JT because they were there. I
So
was there,
Did somebody look at the weir?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
and
That was the
like,
big-
it's weird. It was a fortunate thing, actually, maybe, but there was flow
Around it.
around.
Oh,
So-
all of them had that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 2 weirs in Gateway were topped. It's the first time I've seen it in 30 years. They
That-
were topped.
That third day rain was just
That was a killer.
unbelievable, unbelievable. And I realized that, so, but I was just wanting to make sure that proactively something was being done just to put eyes on everything. Okay, thank you.
Margaret. Last one?
The last one is not, the person's not here. There was an email that we received that they asked to be read at the meeting. It is from Bill Dorian. He says, please read this at your next board meeting for potential action. As we've seen an increase in non-gateway residents using the community pool, I would ask that the board take action. I would propose that the exit button be moved to a location that prevents outsiders from pressing it to gain access to the pool area. Thanks, Bill Dorian, 12520 Benicia Drive.
So just a question, how would someone know?
I have no idea.
Easy.
Unless,
Easy if they know they don't live in this community. Real easy. And there's people living not in this community that are using the pool
How would we know that?
because they know the people.
We don't know everyone in Gateway. So if someone's in the
I
pool-
I mean,
I'm just.
it
I'm
goes
just
back to the-
answering To see how we would.
it goes back to what I was talking about, this whole thing on this whole park deal. We've got to have a system in place that makes sure the people who use this are here.
Wait, but let's. spend just
And
a
that's
minute
the issue.
Just about the pool. We have staff, you have to have.
They aren't
You
asking.
have to have a key card to get in. If someone comes in with one key and there's 5 people with them, what does the staff do? Do we ask any questions? Do we?
Do you wanna bring Carrie? Okay, Carrie's here.
Carrie. Oh, hi,
Might as
Carrie.
well- Might as
Yeah.
well just.
oh, hey, Carrie.
I was
So
looking at
what is our process and what has your staff, have they brought this to your attention that there's people coming into the pool that shouldn't? I mean, I don't know how you get into the pool. without a
Okay.
key.
Well, Carrie Runyon, Park Supervisor. First of all, if there's a family of 5 or 6, I mean, of course, one person's gonna have the key, the rest of them are gonna follow. They've tried to sneak around and hit the green button, but we're growing some bushes and stuff to try to stop that. Meanwhile, if they buzz and can't come in because their key's not working, then we ask them to come in, we check their on the computer to see maybe, usually it's expired. And then if people come in that are guests, because that happens as well, they might be here for family on vacation or something. They come in with the the group. the
But don't
person.
they have to be?
So we do.
So-
And I got,
One follow-up question,
Yes,
but have you or your staff, has anyone identified there being a potential problem with people coming in the pool that don't have a key that are gaming the system?
some people have, I've caught several people.
But is that several, is that two over? a
That's probably
6-month
about-
Period or?
it's about
Trying to
About
understand
12 or 13 of them I've caught myself.
since you've been here.
Yeah. So what I'm meaning is they'll sneak through the gate. They'll go behind somebody else. And then I just pretty much stop them and tell them, I'm sorry, can I see your pass?
What is our numbers average a day?
Well, it depends between weekends and weekdays.
Just on average.
We're talking average, probably between 30 and 40 on a non-aerobic day. And then it gets higher, about 70 on
During
a,
the weekend.
yeah.
So one of the things to alleviate the gentleman's concern is Daniel, and Carrie,
it's easy.
they've worked on we actually issued a purchase order and we're putting an 8-foot fence to match what is the other 3/4 away around the pool. So that way this reaching around can't stop. It will stop them.
Okay, so
That
honestly, I disagree totally with it because this is no different than communities that have a pedestrian gate, like we have it in Magnolia. They make what the keypad is, and it's very inexpensive. It's under $300. It's probably sticks out about four inches out. So if you go with your hand, you cannot click in. So that's all we need. Because the button over there, like you can just press it, but if you encase it, you can go around it with your hand and do it, even if you have a stick or anything, because you gotta turn it
It'd be
around.
double jointed.
Exactly. So instead of a fence, I'm like, I totally agree with Doug. I think we should have looked at that as an option,
Well, we moved the button to begin with. That was option one,
but
but
it's open. It's like literally all you have to do is.
Needs to be enclosed.
It needs to be
Understood.
enclosed and then we wouldn't have that problem.
the fences,
I don't think it's a huge problem, but it's always a concern. You've got private amenities that you keep them regulated. So I understand, I just don't know how severe.
So I feel like on the pool, we have two issues. We have the issue of the button usage, which I personally, because I've been visiting the pool quite often, either I stay in the park and the people utilizing the car key and then 3 other comes. I think that's the bigger problem than the gate. Am I right? People, one
behind.
person with the card, 3 people
Three,
following.
Yeah,
versus
or
people,
they have like 5 or 6 people with them, and
Yeah.
then the next thing you know, they go open the gate
So
for
the
another 5 or
button,
6.
well, is.
And that
I don't
usually
think is
happens
our
on
major,
weekend.
the biggest issue is not that. Like I visited the pool today and I talked to Carrie because I wanted to count how many people were attending aerobics today. And it was 27, I believe. And I asked Carrie, I said, I want to take a look at for the meeting, which is, I just haven't had time, how many cards were actually scanned within the 1 hour?
Mhm.
Because the pool was 95% of the pool was being utilized with the exception of the swimmer's lane.
Right.
It
no
was,
swimmers.
yeah, it was totally full with residents. So I was wondering, were they all scanned? Because it's also good for us to gauge usage, because if there's 10, we may think, okay, there's only 30 people using, but it may be a lot more.
Mhm.
Because they're all coming in the same.
Exactly.
One person opens the gate and everyone.
So when she's telling me on a daily basis it's about 30, I can tell you just today alone, within 1 hour was that. You know what I mean? So I think it's educational for the residents that are utilizing the pool. Look, I need you to scan the card so we can show that there is an issue, there is a need. But that's gonna take staff to do that, and that's gonna be an everyday kind of thing.
It's labor intensive.
Yeah,
But the thing is that if we have a requirement that owners obviously get in, but if they have guests, don't they have to pay?
no.
Owners can bring in a guest.
there is
So
no
what keeps
problem.
an owner from bringing in the same person every day? That's ridiculous.
So that's the company, so that's.
Well,
something
we're
that we
paying
need
for
to-
this. That is absurd. That needs to be changed. They have, when they come in, they come down here, we buy a ticket and we sell them a ticket. Any place else you go, you do that. Why are we giving them free access? You want troubles at that meeting on the 26th. This will give you troubles. This is what people are talking about. We're subsidizing those people. Why are we subsidizing them?
So I,
Have them come in here and they buy a ticket.
and I think, but to me, I understand staff, it's hard for them to adhere to a policy that doesn't exist. So that needs to come from us. So we need to come up with a policy for the guests so they can just go ahead and follow that. Because I mean, we have non-residents usage, but we don't necessarily have a gas. So I think
What
that's something,
differentiates though is my question. See, the problem we have is that the person that's coming in is bringing the person is, well, it's my guest. It's my guest.
Mhm.
He lives over in Timberlake. He's my guest.
So,
You-
so
you
like
can't
if
have that.
staff can, if staff can come up with a draft of the user policy, like something not different than the dog park, because you cannot do that in the dog park.
That-
You can't bring a dog, because it literally, on our rules, it says that. So maybe if staff can bring that to the board and then we adopt it, we'll give a feedback and then
Well,
staff
what
can
we,
just follow
what
it.
we have is we have a policy right now that puts a nightmare of a burden on staff. That's
And
ridiculous.
it's not clear.
It's not
to them
clear.
Well,
either.
I think. Get back to the problem that we're trying to solve. The first one, I think that has priority is restricting unauthorized use. And that is someone that doesn't have a pass, isn't there with the resident. That's the first problem I think we have to solve.
Yeah.
Secondary, because it leads into it, is do we need to create or amend our policy for guests? And I think, look, if we're talking about 30 people at the pool, I mean, that's what some residents get in their own personal pool. So if more people use the pool is great, but we do need to regulate it, in anticipation of a much larger park.
Well,
initiative.
that's what prompted the fencing, because the other three sides of the pool are 8-foot fencing and we need to get compliant. And right now, the front parking lot controls the access. After, if we close with this new, if we do the new build out, there would be no control because the fencing has to come down for that parking lot.
As we proceed, I think there's maybe a simpler, less expensive solution, just add it a gate, like Flavia's great one. It's just, if you can't access the button, then you can't get in. And if you know someone, we've got pool attendees there, they're not there 24/7, but we see someone opening the gate, letting someone in, they should go up and say, hey, are you a resident of Gateway? I mean, there's a little bit of,
Yeah.
accountability on our side that we have.
And I think a step further, no different than the dog park,
Yeah.
we should not differentiate amenities.
I agree. We'll come up with a
You
pool
used to- do you
policy.
remember when people were letting other people use their card and then we canceled their card for 30 days? That should be included in the draft. So if you're in the pool and you're letting people out with your own card, then you're gonna get permission, whatever that is.
So just, as we draft this, just to be clear, we want any guest as a cost.
Well,
That's
that's
my
what we have
opinion.
further discussion on.
Come up with a draft for us and then we'll give feedback on
Because
it.
we also have to think too, like, I mean, I have 4 boys, they always have friends over. And if I take my son and his friend to the pool, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we just need
Yeah.
to think about it first. And again, let's solve the problem that we're trying to solve
Yep.
and not create more.
All right, we'll put something together.
And the last question, do we have ability to utilize a code that they could, I mean, I know we already adopted a fee schedule, so this is something that wouldn't require a public hearing, but a daily pass, so we don't lose revenue and we can still utilize the pool. So somebody comes in and it'll be a $10, like they can, they don't need staff over there. They can just scan it on their phone,
All right.
pay on Facilitron and go in.
Yeah, we'll work through that. We'll
'Cause then-
come up
then,
with something
you
like
know,
that.
see-
It should be point of sale.
Yeah,
If you-
exactly.
If you
But
got a guess, like I would pay, I had my son's friends. I'd pay
$10?
$5.
Well,
Yeah,
you
$5
almost
would've
need somebody there full time then to.
well, but then not to have that because we don't have somebody full-time for that. They would just use Facilitron. That's what Facilitron is there for.
And then we'd have to regulate.
We'll have to work through that.
Well, I mean, if no one's there to regulate it,
You can
all I have to
open
do
it-
is swipe my key.
Well, I see.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a great.
We'll work through
point, but,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
These pumps lead to.
All right, it's 3:20, sorry.
That was fun.
All right, anything else?
So
No?
I want to-
Yes.
Gary, can you just let staff know to just be aware? And when they see somebody come in with multiple, if someone's there, again, I need to make sure that everyone swipes their card and just to make sure, is everyone residents? You know, yeah, just, let's just try to have them just be diligent in that area.
But be nice, yes.
Absolutely.
Nice and.
Just collect the money and let them in. That's all really I want. Just collect the money that way. Do we want to touch on the clarification on the non-residents?
Bob just joined.
Oh, I need a motion to allow Bob to fully participate in this meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
Yes. very good.
Like that move. I
Second.
have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, hi, Bob. Chelsea,
He's muted, but he's there.
do you
Give him
want
a
a
thumbs up.
Thank
clarification?
you.
Do you want a clarification on the non-resident from the board now, since we're in this topic instead of the supervisor comment?
That's fine. So one of the questions came up internally with staff was who constitutes non-resident? And so a year ago, when we discussed the fee schedule, what was determined by this board, and at least what I interpreted was if you lived within the Gateway bounds and you did not pay the Parks and Rec fee, so essentially C5 and Pelican, you could purchase a non-resident pass to come to the pool. We did not open it up to Cape Coral, to Naples, to,
We,
I was not saying Lehigh intentionally.
see,
So I just want to be clear, like that is the direction that we're still operating under.
Say that again.
So you can purchase a non-resident pass if you live within the district bounds, but do not pay the Parks and Rec fee. So Pelican and C5 they're the
So
only two,
Those would be the only ones.
the only two,
Yeah.
yes.
See, the fees, but then I went back to what the meeting was, but I went back to the agenda and the attachment, which was the fee schedule, and the fee schedule just says non-gateway residents. It does not say specific. So to me, I do not care if it's John or Peter that are paying the $120 to utilize the pool. I just want them to pay because I don't want to subsidize for that. So maybe that was a conversation, but so
Why wouldn't it be just anybody in the
That's
one
what-
account?
so that
Period. That's it.
so that's kind of the conversation I had with Chelsea,
Yeah.
and I said, let's bring this to the board for clarification for you, because for me, it's anybody that does not pay tax, anybody that's not gateway, it's non-gateway residents.
You don't pay the 001
You,
assessment, you are non-gateway.
And if you are a renter, you're still included.
yes,
You-
because the
once
homeowner
fee's paid,
pays
and
by
you-
homeowner,
and you
yes,
get
yeah.
The rights and privileges.
Yeah.
So you're opening it up to,
Well, that's, Tony, I guess the clarification is gonna come
Well-
from you, because the document says non-residents, it doesn't say non-residents within the boundaries of gateway.
Yeah, right now it's a non-resident, it's not clear, but one thing in the future, to the extent you use tax exempt bond proceeds to pay for any cost of any new recreational facilities,
It's to anybody then,
then anybody, and yeah,
But they have to pay.
they have to pay, so. I'm-
correct. We can have the rate, we can have a rate differential. We've talked about that
Yeah.
before, but that's, yeah.
all right, well,
I
if
mean,
we do,
If we stay with that, which is. If we keep it clean, non-resident,
It's easier.
I think we get tiered, if you are Pelican or C3. so
Five.
C5, this is what your rate is.
Why? They don't pay anything.
No, they
No,
can't pay
they
at
have,
all.
they have to pay.
They can't
exactly
use
the
it at
same.
all. They can't
They'll
pay
pay-
a fee at all.
We can.
the
make
current
them-
fee schedule says unincorporated Lee County Gateway boundary.
Yeah.
And I think we need to look at that.
Pelican and C5 can't
Just did.
participate no matter how much they want
Last
to pay.
meeting, 2 meetings ago.
They can't.
But I don't remember what the amount was.
Yeah, for the pool, 120 a year.
Yeah, to me, that's way.
That's
But
what it
we
is.
we started it and the
Yeah.
board was,
Say that.
I don't know.
I totally agree, $10, because I'm thinking the roads.
I don't think we've sold
I don't
any.
think we've sold any
But
non-resident.
why? That's my thing, because are we checking and are we saying, I'm sorry, you can't come in, and if you abuse your card, Mr. Resident, we're gonna be without it for 30 days, we're willing to do that? So I think that is on us.
That's part of our due diligence to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I lost my agenda. Okay.
Good
I lost the agenda.
Non-agenda item.
Local achievements and recognitions, do we have anything?
I don't.
All right, okay, Karen, I have one too.
According to the club at Pelican Preserve, they got 16.2 inches of rain in the 3 days that it rained last week. And I'd like to commend the pond subcommittee, because every member of that.
I cannot
committee was
hear
out-
whoever's talking.
Oh,
Microphone on.
oh,
It is on, right? Don't touch it.
okay. So I would like to commend every member of the pond subcommittee who was out there. They were looking at the streets, they were monitoring everything. And yes, we did get water in the streets, but the streets are designed to hold water. So everything, the water was going over the weirs, everything was working, the system worked the way it was supposed to work. And I would like to commend the ponds committee. Doug as the chairman, but also every member of that committee. They did yeoman's work those 3 days, and they should be recognized for it.
Thank you. And so my comment will be the same for our crew, because I was out and I wasn't sure if my car was gonna make it. And I mean, we had our staff out there cleaning the grades with shovels and rakes. I mean, everybody was out there, raining or not. They were full force. They were in communities, like, I don't know how fast they were. I saw them at Hampton and suddenly I saw the same person at Stony Brook. I'm like, what's going on? So they were out there. So kudos to staff, like all utility, public works, everybody, with no exception.
Thank you.
And you can all send Gateway Greens a Christmas card next year that we didn't open the gates and send you more water.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah,
I mean, they,
the
they,
water
they,
is
thank
up
you.
to us.
That's what my owners wanted. They
Yeah.
wanted the water to be sent on downstream.
Yeah.
So do we know how much water Gateway got?
We got about 14 inches at Gateway Greens.
Okay.
All right, so advisory committees and items to report. So Tetra Tech.
This is that item that Doug referred to earlier. Just to reiterate, this board, 3 or 4 or 5 meetings ago, said any engineering items need to involve the engineer. This was taken in front of PPAC. PPAC said, thanks, but no thanks. And ultimately, it's to provide CEI and construction administration for the Pond 36 construction that started yesterday.
And I would like to add that this is nothing new. There's nothing new in this process. This has happened over and over and over again at Pelican Preserve. The committee and our staff know exactly what they're looking for. I would like to recommend that we take PPAC's recommendation and not go forward with this $39,400.
And I second that motion.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
We have a second
Yeah, Bob did.
discussion on the
yes.
fact that I want Tony to opine on the fact that got people. I hate to disagree with
Yeah.
my good friend Doug and Bob, but this is engineering work, professional engineering work. If we're going to do that one, we'll go get somebody to do the legal work, Tony,
And then.
because we can do the same argument. We've done it enough times. We know what to do. Guys, this is dangerous. This is immensely, I'm all for cutting costs, but not here. Cut it on the stupid requirements we have in the specifications, but not on professional services. If something goes wrong, something goes south, who are we going after? Right now, we go after the engineer because he's got a license and he's got insurance.
And how many
Who are we
times?
going to go after there?
And
I
how
don't think, Doug, you want that responsibility. I certainly wouldn't.
And Ed, how many times has that happened?
It doesn't happen one time. That's why you have
No,
professional.
Ed,
that's why
how
you have
many
professional
years has
services.
this district existed? Never once has this district gone against the engineer and asked them for any money back.
No, that's happened twice.
And it got ugly too.
And I apologize.
In fact, it involved Pelican Preserve and it got ugly, yes.
I think the issue is that Tony should opine as our attorney on the fact that we are doing professional services, professional engineering services that are not being done by certified people.
I totally agree with what you said, Ed, but the point is that Pelican is willing to assume that risk and take the risk because we've been doing it for 14 years and we've yet to have a problem. So please just let us muddle on along and continue the way we've always done it.
All right, so before you opine on Ed's request, we have tried in the last 4 years that I've been sitting here, 3.5, to either mimic what's something that worked at Pelican or combine in Gateway, because it was always Pelican versus Gateway, right? And we're all the same. So my biggest thing is I supported Ed and the board unanimously supported Ed when we said that we needed Tetra Tech to look at this and take over. But now we wanted to split that and said, yes, we want to hold that for Gateway and they continue to pay, but not for the Pelican because we have those volunteers, experts so call it. I'm inclined to keep things as is, as we approved it. Not even looking at the legal, just because we are the same. If it's going to apply for Pelican, then it should apply for Gateway. If you apply for Gateway, it applies for Pelican. It's all the stormwater, everything is the same. They're not separated. The only difference is that hold on, Doug, I'm not done.
Okay.
The only difference is that they have a body of volunteers that we used to have and no longer have. That is the only difference.
No, that is not the only difference. In Pelican, we require littorals everywhere. Gateway would never assume that. So there are differences. And when I signed on to the engineering thing, it wasn't with the thought or the foresight that we would now be precluding Pelican to continue repairing our lake banks like we've always done. That's all.
I'm not talking about requirements or procedures or additions to the minimum bare standards. So you're talking about pond standards, and those are the minimum requirements. If your group wants to
add more littorals or keep it in a certain different way above what is required, that's upon you guys. That has nothing to
But,
do
well,
with.
okay. So if it's upon us, we want to be upon us on this particular requirement for construction management. We feel very confident we can do it. We've always done it, and we've done it successfully. Why now do we have to waste $39,000 for something we don't need or want?
Okay, so Tony, I'll let you answer Doug's,
Hey,
Ed's
one
question. I
question.
keep
Just,
calling the wrong person.
just Tony, to clarify. If something happens and it's something is done incorrectly, or there's an error, and if there's a lawsuit filed, who's responsible for that?
The contractor, we have no, again,
No, if it's an engineering. error.
engineering, you have the individuals are volunteers and they're not, as that indicated. We don't have privity with them to one extent. They're a committee member, so I'm not sure how we could litigate and sue them for negligence or malpractice in performing, because they have no defined tasks.
Okay, if
I mean, no-
someone,
no
if
defined
someone's,
parameters.
if someone was filing a suit and would they go second step to Pelican, or would they go to the district?
They being the
Whoever's gonna sue
Whoever's the,
Under the district.
district,
They tend to the
Because-
district.
district would sue the contractor, obviously, if they did a lousy job.
I don't think that's the problem, Tony.
Yeah.
I think the problem is if there's an error in judgment made that's out there that's made by an engineer on staff. He has issues.
Well,
interest
if
to
it's
cover that.
in-house, it's one thing. I mean, you don't go after, I mean, generally you don't go after in-house staff.
And that's the problem that we have. That,
But
in
Ed,
that
we-
essence is what you're doing is you are
Ed-
making the committee in-house staff.
No, we are not. We have always relied on Tetra Tech, but without having a separate contract. They just did the job for us and worked with us and worked with the contract. That's all we're trying to do is go back with that without having this construction engineering requirement.
I guess for clarification, then, if Tetra Tech was involved with the projects, to what extent were they as the projects were underway? Did they inspect it along with these?
This one, they provided the design of Pond 36.
But I'm saying that in the past, as far as Tetra Tech's involvement, they were there monitoring the work also?
Yes, they did. They were
Oh,
out there, either Tyler Wainwright
I
or
don't
Stephen
know.
Agapi has watched what our guys were doing and advised us
We
and them.
we need to clarify this.
Yeah, I was-
There's two services being provided or rendered. What we call construction engineering, which would be including checking pay estimates, checking the quality of the work to make sure it's being done in accordance on a routine basis. Then we have resident inspection, which is on-site inspection, which is further having eyes on the project on a monthly or a daily or a weekly basis. So those are the two services. Both of them recognized as professional services that I can't think of any project. And I'm all for cutting costs, but this is not a place where you cut.
But I guess my question is, has the two scopes you're talking about, that's been performed by Tetra Tech in the past in conjunction with the
On every
Pelican
job.
Reserve? No, for every Pelican Reserve pond?
This is the
far
first.
as I
time
know, it
here.
is.
I'm not privy to
My
that.
expectation, you should be,
I'm not aware of
but I
any
don't,
project.
I don't think that, Doug, you wanna come up to the podium?
Could we
Get
ask
clarified?
Doug
Yeah,
that
that's what I was gonna
question?
say. Doug, you wanna come up to the
I
podium?
was gonna say, I'm not aware of any project in Gateway that we have done to where we have not had construction engineering services. We may have had minimal observation
I
services.
remember that, I remember that. So Doug, is it a yes or no?
When we did the Armor Max, which was more the bigger projects, we had Tetra Tech, like Bob said, engaged from the beginning to the end. When we did smaller sections, let's just say not an entire pond, we did not use Tetra Tech to do the inspection. Was the work completed? I mean, we know how many feet they're gonna restore on the bank. It's in the specs, the bid specs have that. So we'll use Tetra Tech on this project so far. We use them for the prioritization of the ponds that match the prioritization we already had done. But we always used them because we don't want one of our ponds group members to be said they selected your pond and someone else. So we use Tetra Tech for that. We use Tetra Tech for the design verification that we already were using, but we paid Tetra Tech to do the design verification and to do the bid specs. That's where we're at now. Then we got the bids and there's penalties in there when they don't perform and stuff like that. We got the bids back and now we're in the process of week one of the project with CMB Civil out of the Tampa area that have started the project. And now, I seen this task authorization came forward that we were not expecting. That's the bottom line. I mean, it's already, it's already been, the project is already over $100,000 more than we thought with the bid process because of the bid specs that, the things that have to be added, the terms that have to be added in a formal bid that add costs. And that's what you were talking about, Ed, is maybe some of them aren't needed. All I'm saying though, is that we're already about $100,000, we're over $100,000 over that we anticipated. Some of that might be my fault, my group's fault for not estimating a little more, but some of it's the terms and stuff like that. So that's where we're at right now.
Here's,
So-
here's
Well, wait
what-
1 second, Doug, if I can just clarify a little bit. First of all, we're 100,000 over because we tried to meet the new standards the district's implying. We had a contractor ready, willing, and able to have done it for under 200. But we went through the district process, and now we're putting another 39,000. Tetra
Yep.
Tech is more than willing to support us in the way they have in the past without this.
It's
So,
the
hold
better-
on, hold on, Doug. So my question, it was I needed a yes or no question, a yes or no answer, so I could figure out what I go. So the answer is you did it sometimes and you did it,
When we had the big project and we did Armor Max like you guys did, we used Tetra Tech.
so it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, we never did the whole
Not
bang.
inconsistent, Flo. We
Yeah,
did
we
it
never
based
did
on
the
the
whole
volume
thing.
and the scope of the project.
They were
There's a big
small.
difference between that and inconsistent.
Yeah. And
well, that's the word inconsistent means. You did it sometimes and you didn't do it other times because the scope and the
Some
project
projects
were
required it
different.
in and of
Yeah.
itself.
that's right. there.
That's,
That's
that,
not
the scope and the
inconsistent.
project were different, so
Yep.
there were different solutions and different
Yep.
methods, different costs and
Right.
different ways to get there.
Chelsea,
Inconsistent,
Correct.
that's the
you
word.
give your thing, it might be a compromise.
So we have a motion in the floor
Well-
and we have a second in this discussion. Doug, do you have anything else? And then, Tony? Yes, Tony?
Is this SRF funded?
No.
Okay, only because that's in the task authorization.
So I do have a
It
question.
references that coordination with DEP for loan disbursements.
My question would be to Chelsea, is there any alternatives? that
So
staff would
Less than
recommend?
on time?
So understanding that if you don't engage the engineer, that there is a risk, okay? Having the engineer gives us a level of protection. They're the ones who designed it, so they can attest to what's actually out there. Given the amount of eyes that are in the ponds subcommittee, and that knowing that the inspector that Tetra Tech would be putting on this project is not an engineer, I could see where a happy medium would be for this project only. Not using CEI services, but engaging Tetra Tech for the construction management services to check all the pay apps, to review all the submittals, to help with the punch list, go out and do the inspections at the end of the project as part of the punch list. So I think that would be a happy medium right now, but understanding that with a review, Tony's review of the general conditions moving forward, we need one policy, one practice.
And what would be the price difference on that?
It's half of that price, about 15.
Would that be
Can you
acceptable?
scroll down?
Does
So
that have to go back?
it would be
Right
about
thing,
20,000.
the
Guys.
do the right thing.
Guys, let me tell you, I've done this a long time. I've had this very issue brought up to me. We'll do the observation, we'll do the resident inspection, you do the construction management. I have no problem with that.
Who did it wrong?
You're gonna give me a release. Any mistake made by your inspector and not having my eyes on it, I'm free. My insurance is free.
Well, wouldn't we
So
ask
that's
Pelican to-
exactly what Tetra Tech's going to do, I can
So-
tell you.
So Ed, would we not want Pelican to?
Pelican is us.
That's
We
what
are-
I'm
that's the
saying.
problem.
That's- they keep
It's us.
separating it, but it's us.
It's us.
Yeah, so we have to,
Because-
there's no way we assume the
No.
responsibility period. That's the question I was trying to ask.
Because
earlier.
if you
Yes.
love this discussion now, you're gonna love it the next project we have, because I'm gonna bring it up also.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is a
does this also
disaster
mean-
in the making. What our
Does this also
problem is,
mean that we will no longer have an opportunity to repair without going the full Armor Max like you guys do over there? And that every time we're now gonna have to get SRF funding and
I think,
spend
Bob,
millions of dollars?
here's my problem, Bob.
Ed, we're willing to take the risk. You don't seem to understand that. We are
Bob,
willing
it's
to
not-
you're not at
take the
risk.
risk.
Yeah,
We're the
Bob,
risk.
we're the risk 'cause he-
We're at
Bob-
risk, not you're at risk.
Bob continues.
We
to
will
separate-
assume the risk and
separate.
relieve it from the district. We will take the risk internally entirely. So in this case, if the board.
Who is
supports it,
we?
Can you write that?
Who is
document?
we?
No, you can write that
We
document.
is Pelican Preserve.
It's-
But Bob, I need you to have your supervisor's hat, which is not we. You are not we Pelican Preserve. You are we Gateway Services, including Pelican Preserve. You
It
seem to
isn't me,
forget that, and it's,
Pelican
to me,
only.
it's
No, what
really
I'm not
frustrating.
what I'm not forgetting and what you guys forget is that PPAC has already opined on this. If they had been asked that question, the answer would have been yes,
Okay.
It's not-
but they weren't asked the question. They were asked the question, did we want to spend the $40,000? And the answer was no.
The entity is the district, which is a governmental body. And so it's not the residents of one area versus the residents of the other. It's the district is the entity that has the responsibility. Now, the district has subcommittees and committees that help advise it in certain tasks and certain projects, but ultimately it's the entity that has the exposure and the liability.
Right.
Well, the same
Okay.
example would be.
I hear these words, but yet the district for the Gateway side has upwards of $27 million in expenditures for pond bag. Pelican has done it one hell of a lot cheaper. And now you're telling us we can't do that anymore. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. So we have a motion on the table, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Oppose? Aye. Motion fails.
So you're gonna make us spend $40,000
oh yeah, absolutely.
that we don't need to.
Don't say it that way, Carol.
Yeah.
Don't say it that
Yeah,
way.
it's $140,000,
Okay.
Carol,
And
because we could have
Okay,
had
but-
it done for 200,000.
Following
Let me just-
generally accepted practices of engineering.
Okay,
It's
Forget
that
that
simple.
stuff.
all right, so
I'll
let's,
fight with you
Okay.
100%, and nobody will be more behind you than I will to tackle these construction documents because they are a joke.
okay, so,
And don't do it this way. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Our problem is
We're
not.
throwing money for nothing. We are spending
Okay.
money for nothing.
we're done with this conversation. Well, let's go ahead and move to approval of the minutes.
So you
So,
want to approve, motion to approve that line, that task authorization then?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Motion was to.
I'd make,
so the motion, Kara's motion is to deny, so you're gonna make that
I'll
motion?
make the motion to approve the task. I've gone through this before. This was a comparison. And here's another one, just a side trip. We just did this last meeting on an exactly similar project for a price that's almost repetitive, and we got that corrected. Okay? 39, it was 60 some thousand dollars. We
36,
got it
yeah.
down to 39,000.
Well,
This
I
is-
have
this
an
is apples and
alternative too.
apples.
If you pay for it out of 001, I don't care.
Again, because you should be thinking of all of those funds as one, because you're a board of supervisor, not a Pelican Preserve only supervisor. So we have a motion by Ed to approve the task authorization 2024-12, and I'll second that motion. I'll call it for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Oppose?
No,
No. And
Okay,
Flavia,
so
every
it's-
single time we've done a lake bank restoration in Gateway, I have always advocated for a less expensive way, and I've always been voted down. And I didn't do that based on being in Pelican. I did that to represent all of Gateway. So
Thank
I
you,
kind of
Bob.
resent the fact that you're implying I only care about Pelican. That's not true. I'm trying to save money all along and always lose. But now you're wasting our money too.
Thank you, Bob. Let's go ahead and move to approval of the minutes.
I had nothing on the minutes. Which one you gonna do? Both of them at the same time or one at a time?
Both.
Both? I had nothing. Motion to
I'll-
approve 8A and B.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
District engineer. Where's Tetra Tech when I needed them?
He's online. He's online.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Money.
Good afternoon, everyone. Stephen Agapi, Tetra Tech District Engineer.
What do you know
Today
about
on,
Richard.
it's time and materials, so, we can definitely do our best to limit our, services that are actually needed out there. So, anyways, task authorization update, irrigation pump station generator. We're working with the contractor right now, just ahead of delivery date, which is still scheduled for January. Irrigation force main improvements, we're still waiting for funding. Lower Hawthorne well, the well driller had a couple setbacks with equipment, but they've made good progress. They're developing the well this week. The electrical contractor has started installing some of their improvements, and so everything's on schedule for this project. Gateway's utility storage building, the utility storage building, that is supposed to get delivered in the first week of July. We have a meeting tomorrow with the contractor to go over preliminary site work for that. So over the next couple months, you guys will see some progress on that project there. Gateway Admin Building, bids are due July 16th. Questions are due approximately 2 weeks from now. We've got another addendum to go out. We're just waiting for comments to come back or questions to come back to release that.
Stephen, if I could just chime in real quick. We were pleasantly surprised that South Florida Water Management District already turned around the review comments for, I'm jumping ahead, but for the DO amendment for the site work for the park stuff. So that's a little bit of positive.
Really?
Yes.
That's fast.
How about the county?
Huh, don't hold your breath.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was reaching there.
Go ahead, Stephen. Sorry.
You're good. Phase 2, Year 2 Lake Bank Restoration. This is Lake 127 and 130. As you all know, we are at ultra high levels in the lake system. So these are still scheduled to be hopefully started in the late fall, early winter. And these are Met Tower lakes. FY25 Lake Bank design. These have gone out to SRF for their review and approval ahead of the August hearing. We did get comments back from Lee County on the majority of the lakes. We're working on revising the plans to satisfy those comments. We're still waiting for Lake 109 to come back, but Chelsea has spoken to Aixa from the county, and I think she said Friday, tomorrow, we should get comments back on that. FY24 Lake Construction Management. Lake 78 and 82 and Daniels Preserve are looking pretty good. They fared the storm pretty well. Just some minor issues with the new sod. They're in restoration mode right now, and they've got to plant littorals still. So that one should be wrapping up soon. The other 4 lakes, we had a pre-construction meeting yesterday on site of Lake 105 to talk with MRI to see if they could tackle that lake during the summer, because it sits a little higher and that lake is unusual. It has riprap all the way around the lake. So we're looking at that and coming up with some ideas to maybe help them get that one done this summer instead of waiting. So right now it looks like the rest of those may have to wait until November, December for them to start. Public Works Storage Building, working towards 100% design. That's scheduled to be turned around this week. Astor Park plan, I think Chelsea touched on that one. FGUA, they are planning to start construction, I believe, by the end of this month or early next month. So you'll start to see some work. They're going to directionally drill under State Road 82 first, and then do some more of the directional drilling in Lehigh, and then eventually start doing the open cutting in Gateway on Griffin Drive, sorry. Developments. Most of them are in punch list mode right now. We've got Santa Luz and Arborwood that Lennar is working on getting wrapped up for us. We keep giving them updated punch lists, and we've been communicating with Alex from Lennar. So that's a good sign. We're at least communicating with them at this moment. Daniels Parkway Apartments, we're waiting on the reuse irrigation issue to be resolved. And we have a resubmittal that's about to go be turned around to the developer for Garrett FM. That was the Alta Rezone Sentosa Apartments project. And that's all for my updates. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Steve, I got a couple. 125 and 128, we've talked about it up there under the FY24. Is there any indication that, I think is that Met Tower?
No, these are MRI lakes. They just got.
MRI. Is there any reason why, I understand the other ponds, but 125 and 128 are both basically just set alone ponds. Any reason that they wouldn't be able to go in and draw the water down? They're not in the flowway, they're off the flowway, to be able to get that work done?
So we think that's also feasible to dewater and do the work. We talked about it with MRI when we met with them yesterday. They're just concerned that they're going to have to really keep up with the restoration. They're going to have to chase their work. So they're going to have to put fill down, compact it, put the fabric down, and put sod on it just to keep it protected from the daily rains. So
those two ponds are ponds that have major escarpment. They would definitely have to be drawn down very, very shallow to make it work. That's where they were a week ago Monday. And we all know what happened in the interim with 12, 14 inches of rain. But I just asked because I've got people over there that have waited now for not 1 year. Now they're waiting a second year for us to get in there and get that one done. So that was issue one. The other issue is we've got a public meeting on the 26th, I believe, on this park deal. Have we got, and I want to make sure that we're clear that when we present to the people, everybody in my community is asking, how in the hell did you get to a phase 2 park project when I never heard of phase 1, which was the dumbest thing we ever did. The building is phase 1. The park is phase 2. There never was a phase 1 park project. But the issue is that would either you or Eric or the Home Montes people, can we get an updated multiple copies of a 24 by 36 inch drawings of the phase 2 project for which we are intending on proceeding, so that around the room, people can see what this phase 2 is? Right now, we have a phase 2 map that Chelsea and I were talking about it, and it seems like the phase 2 that she's seeing, this phase 2 that I'm seeing, are different. I'm going by our contract with you and Home Montes that delineated out about 12 items that constituted phase 2. I'd like to see those 12 items on that map that we present to the public.
You said there's a discrepancy in
Yeah.
what we have, like
Yeah.
what's being advertised?
Yeah, there's things that we paid, we've entered into a contract with Tetra Tech and with Home Montes, well, Home Montes was to prepare phase 2 documents.
We're talking
Those,
about
I'm sorry,
for Flavia and Chelsea, we're talking about, Ed is asking for,
a map.
okay, you guys,
Yeah, a map. And I want to make sure, because you and I have talked, and things that I thought was in phase 2 that was in their contract, you said it's not in the project anymore. I want to make sure we go to the public with exactly what we're saying is going to be on the phase 2 project.
Okay, what you see in the PowerPoint presentation for next Wednesday is the phase 2.
Okay,
That's everything in phase 2.
okay, that is,
That's it.
that's it. Okay.
Everything else is future phases if it ever happens.
What do we have to, because we're gonna have a lot of people there. What do we have in the way of maps that'll be scattered around the room where people can go and look at it and specifically see it?
I can have big
the
maps
big,
printed.
the one where you have where the courts and everything, that one, if we had a big one of that one,
Yeah,
would be really
that's what
nice.
I'm
It'll be
thinking.
over
Yeah.
at the church, so I'll get
It's
some big,
across the street.
yeah, I'll get
Okay.
some big maps printed.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah,
Kind of
like
like how we had
stations.
the waste management meeting. like,
Yep. We'll do
not
that.
big, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. It's a good
Do that
idea.
again. That's all
Okay, I have a question for Stephen. I have one. With all of the items on this sheet, Stephen, are any of them confined or impacting in Pelican Reserve?
No,
Okay. The only reason I ask is we're paying 40% of staff time. And yet I'm still trying to figure out how that happens, but you clarified this for this sheet I'm looking at. Thank you.
so I mean, like the Gateway Utility Storage Building, I mean, that's utilities I get. I mean, I'm not really sure what you're getting at, Bob.
That's not Pelican. It may be
Sorry.
a portion that pays for it out of enterprise, but not out of OG.
Right.
Okay, I think just for clarification, Stephen, is there something that should be on here that just got missed or something?
On 36.
For Pelican jobs, no, I mean, we'll add PP 36, construction management to the next task authorization update list.
These tie directly to task authorizations with Tetra Tech. So we have a couple general task authorizations with them that if things come up, that we need to call on them and use and utilize them. So any one-offs, would have to.
So
go-
they're proposed.
Yeah,
Okay.
So before they did it, getting back to the Pond 36, before they did it within that scope.
Bob, do we have any projects at Pelican right now that are ongoing that, are you saying that are not on the list here?
No, I don't have a problem. I'm just trying to show everybody, we keep talking about Pelican
Okay.
should be paying. Well, we're paying for all of this that you see here, 14%, and none of it's us. But when we want to save money, you got voted down. Okay.
Well, technically, this would be the 60% that you don't pay for.
Yeah, we're paying 40 for nothing because none of it occurs in Pelican.
well, Public Works Storage Building benefits Pelican in a
It
sense.
does in
because
what
they-
way, Chelsea?
Yeah.
In what
And
way?
in the capacity of staffing percentages, the tools have to be stored, equipment.
We've only had a person for about 3 weeks, and now you're telling me that we, okay. Keep going. I mean, what BS?
I mean, hey, Bob, we can have a Pelican versus Gateway discussion probably offline. As opposed to.
Well,
trying to
certainly
come-
wouldn't want to get anybody
He
upset.
met with staff. so
Okay. Hey.
I just read his mind. He met with staff. I don't think he met like, yeah.
I did say staff, right?
Talking about the.
Okay,
Moving on.
moving on.
All right, admin agenda
Pass that
items.
off.
Go ahead. Are we done with district engineer?
I am. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you all. Have a great night. Bye.
You as well.
See you, Steve.
Okay, Chelsea, you want to take 11?
Actually, being that the developers here, would you entertain moving C up?
Sure.
North Haven.
North Haven.
Yes. You don't
We're
want.
not that boring. I think he wants to stay, but I'm kidding.
If you want to hear all the budget items, I mean, that would be fun too.
Okay, so let's go ahead and pull C forward.
Thank you.
11C.
11C, yes.
So Tony worked together with Mark's legal counsel last week to what we believe to be a compromise that the district is still protected. And we, I believe, are all in agreement and are recommending your approval of this agreement and
Yes.
execution.
Remind me again,
Okay,
what's
one
North
question.
Haven? What's the North Haven?
North Haven is the one up here, across from Stony Brook.
They're not
Just
gonna
north
do
of
anything on it
Hidden
right
Lakes.
now. They want a couple years to decide if they're gonna do anything or not. They
Yes.
were here last meeting. If you could pull up the agreement on page 3,
That's just a typo.
Page 3 of the agreement.
yes. And,
Sure.
that first paragraph, the third from the last sentence, which begins, and new bond by the dates outlined in 3.B1, comma, 3
Oh, there should
It's
be.
missing a.
2, it's, it should probably be 3.B2, and then 3.B, it should be 3. There is no 4,
There is a 4, but
but up above.
yes, there is.
Is-
Yeah, there's 3B4 right
Right
above
above
It's
it.
right here,
Well, then is
Sorry.
3.B33,
missing.
3 in there also, 3
Oh,
eyes?
what's missing is
Three.
Three.
The numeral.
3B1, 3, there's a 3 missing. right
Yeah,
there.
3B1,
3BI, 3B double I.
or
and
just say 3B1,
IV.
I
You're
through
correct.
IV.
That's the typo.
So if we could just approve it, given the Scribner errors, and which I'm sure our attorney will.
Hawkeye, how did you find
Wow.
that one? Good
I read
Lord.
it.
Thank you.
Good find.
2 attorneys, a couple managers and a developer, yes. That was-
Okay, so I move to approve, given the correction of the Scribner errors on page 3.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
I could have read that all day and not found.
Me neither.
Mark, I'll email you tomorrow. Safe travels. Thank you, Flavia, for moving that up with them.
Okay, back to 3A or.
Budget.
Yep, budget.
Wednesday.
Just want to call out the beautiful new cover page of the budget. I don't know if you
That I
saw
had to
it.
have it make down. It was a giant picture that was like.
Let's show them.
Budget.
Let's show the beautiful picture of the cover page. Look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Very nice.
with no suds, yes.
Where do you want to start?
Okay, if we could go to the 002 account, which is the Pelican account. At the last PPAC meeting, they made some substantial reductions, suggested reductions.
I can
Which
recap
Laura
those,
is going
yeah.
to put all together in the proper form and all that sort of stuff. And they will see it at their July meeting and vote on it. And so I just wanted to make you aware that those will be coming to our board then from them in July.
I can
For
recap
our
those quickly.
July, it'll be before our July meeting. The one meeting we're having in July.
July 18th, whatever it is, yeah.
Right. And then I would like to make a suggestion. We've talked on the board here about the increases on the staff time. And Doug, I think it was your suggestion that we leave it the way it is and at the end of the year, true up. And never give credit back if we didn't use all of the staff time, et cetera, et cetera. I would like to suggest that we cut it back to just a 50% increase in the percentages and take the additional money so that the bottom line will not change, the total will not change, but take the bottom line and put it in a reserve account at the very end of the 002 account. So the money will be there. And as the year goes along, if we need to ask PPAC because because PPAC is using too much of staff's time to put it forward, then we could do it. And if you go to the very end of 002, the very last page of the 002.
Page 50?
I don't know. She's flopping through.
I
these.
know.
He went from staffing to Pelican, so we had
Yeah.
to jump
Two
Oh.
totally different areas of the budget.
Page 113, I think.
It's page 50,
in the
50, okay.
right here, 50.
Okay, under, probably be under other fees and charges.
All I see is general 01.
See where it says reserve capital? Can we just create a reserve administrative and move that amount of money, that additional amount into that reserve so that that can be tapped at any time for additional things. And then we'll know by the end of the year. And one of the reasons why I want to do this is so that Pelican and PPAC have a budget that they know that staff time is as valuable as actual dollars. So we have to utilize staff efficiently and effectively. And I think if we know that going into the year, then they will be able to budget their staff time accordingly. And I would like to see PPAC have to budget that staff time as well as all the other line items that they have to budget.
So you're saying that reserve dash capital that's currently listed as 350, you want that broken into two components?
No, I want an additional line that would say reserve administrative.
Okay.
Right now, the percentages,
But would that add more money?
She's just taking
No.
it, she's taking it from one end.
I'm taking
the
it from
actual
the administrative.
Operating it and putting in as a reserve because
And I
we want
put-
them to be able to manage it, because
Okay.
most likely if they know that they're gonna have to count the minutes, they're gonna hold in and not
Gotcha.
overuse staff.
Okay,
Right,
Does that make sense?
yes.
gotcha.
Well,
And I want them to try and live by that budget item of just a 50% increase in the percentage of budget of the staff's time.
Hours time.
but
Instead of truing up at the end and giving us credit for something, make us have to manage it right off the beginning.
and one thing that I would do is I would do a mid-year review. Because what
Oh,
could
that's fine.
possibly happen if we were operating at what is calculated by staff, by the time we get to half year, that amount, should be gone and you could reallocate it at that particular point. But that would be a good check-in, mid-year, see if you're on
That's
track.
fine.
what I don't want is no other committee dictates what staff does. And so I don't want the chair of pond subcommittee to say, well, no, Daniel, we don't need you here for this meeting. Staff needs to be involved. Staff needs to be there to action items. Now, do we need two staff there? Like Bob mentioned at the last meeting, not necessarily. We do follow-ups after emails and things like that. Laura handles PPAC. Now, are we listening in the background? Yeah, because it's to our benefit in case, Daniel's listening right now in case he needs to chime into something with the board. So,
I'm not so much worried about your accounting for the staff time. I want to make sure that the committees and P-PAC manages their staff time.
It sounds reasonable.
In other words, don't have 7 people of P-PAC calling Daniel every week to find out about X, Y, and Z. And I think you need to put the onus on P-PAC and on Pelican to manage that time rather than to come from you.
I don't have a problem with it.
How is it now? Do you feel like the chairs or members of the committee dictate in one way or another? Or try to with staff and what they need and what they don't need and when they want them and when they do not want them?
honestly, if Daniel's listening, if he could come in and chime in on this one, because he
Well-
is the one who's directly involved in these, but a lot of the action items are, once those commit, just like with you all, once you action and approve an item,
That's-
we have to implement it.
Yeah.
It's not like it just goes away. Breno has to be paved. We have to notify all the residents. We have to notify the community association. We have weekly meetings with the Annabelle still. It's a lot more than just the committee meeting. It's the actual actionable items that occur after.
I think Carol's not even asking for that. She is saying, in order to hold Pelican more accountable for the hours, what they want to do is basically split that, have a, what's the word I was looking for? Have an amount that's already been, put
Set 'em out.
a preset amount, and then just have the other in the reserves. It doesn't impact us at all because the budget, the money's
It
still
does.
there.
It does.
It does,
Doesn't?
because the percentage, it's based off of the staffing percentage allocation. Now, we did put $100,000 at the high water mark to account for this, but if you take 15% away from Pelican, it's gotta go somewhere. And it's gonna go to it has to be split across the general fund.
No, but
But
Yes.
No,
we're
but that
putting
amount-
it in reserves. In
And I don't-
Pelican's
But I don't
reserves.
understand why we would do that.
I don't understand, yeah, I'm not,
You're making extra work. If you're still gonna assess for the amount of the staffing, why would you create a separate line? I don't
Because it's
understand.
gonna help them time manage.
But they have a budget. So now you're
But
gonna have,
we-
so you're gonna have to
Okay,
add together to manage.
when you say we have a budget, we had no input in that. It was thrown at us. We would have accepted the 50% increase, but we didn't get that. In some cases, we got 100%, 130. We went from 15 hours to 25 or 10 hours to 25. So don't tell us we don't have any input other than to accept what you tell us. When I asked for the documentation, you couldn't provide it. What you gave me was far from robust. And the answer was, well, we'll true it up in 6 months. And I'm okay with that. But what Carol's asking for is entirely reasonable.
so,
All I want to do is keep the money in O2. It doesn't go on you guys. We'll still be charged for it because that'll be part of it's the same amount of money. But
What if
by
we
only
split it?
leaving a certain amount of it in the
Well, we have to
actual
continue.
line item, you're
here's
putting the onus on P-PAC to manage
Here's my
that.
suggestion. I think this is a compromise. You adopt the budget, keeping it in the salaries. The first meeting after the new fiscal year, P-PAC makes a motion to move that money to a reserve line item.
Or
I
you
think we
split it. You split it into your, Q1, Q2,
She doesn't even want split, she wants an addition.
but
Let
Thank
me
you.
ask you this. What happens if we have 6 months of the data and it doesn't support the numbers we're currently operating under? Are we stuck with it for the year?
You're gonna have carryover to the next following year. That's the money's not gonna go away, it's gonna be,
It's either a negative or a positive
Yeah.
carryover, or if you're lucky, it's
wash.
equal,
yeah,
a wash.
like how it is now, no.
And if it were in reserves and we could live within just the 50% increase, if we help to manage that and live within that 50% increase, then that additional money that's in the reserves will stay in Pelican's reserves.
So I think,
Absolutely.
But also, if you don't use it, how it is now, it's still going to stay for carryover for Pelican only, because only Pelican paid for it.
wait,
Right.
let's just hold on, because I
But there's a
wasn't thinking
difference.
about what Laura had said. If you pull it out of that line item and that funding goes in reserves, it is no longer allocated to the percentage, right? So whatever that amount is, we'd have to redistribute across the board,
Elsewhere.
right? So it's not as
Only
easy.
if it wasn't used, Doug. Only if we didn't use everything we're currently being charged. Then you wouldn't have to go anywhere.
So they're saying we don't reallocate, we keep the budget, but you're basically just gonna split it.
What she wants to make them live within their means. And so I would say leave the budget as is because of it's a lot of formulas on our side. And then the first P-PAC meeting after the new fiscal, have them move the money out of we can move the money out of salaries within that P-PAC. It's,
This is making, it's, every time when we,
It is.
so every 2 weeks when we get paid, I send the payroll journal to Sonia. She uses that staffing allocation to allocate the wages based on the positions and a percentage of each person's wages based on the adopted budget. That's how it gets allocated. How are we gonna allocate the wages if you're just taking a chunk of money and moving it down? Where is that gonna
Tracking.
get?
we're gonna be tracking. We're gonna have to track. And then it's gonna be, she's not gonna base that off of the Pelican. It's gonna have to be based off of.
Right.
Well, then that's not
Either
fair.
way. people are
Exactly.
gonna-
You're making a huge mess. You're making a huge mess.
Because then because if we're tracking by actuals instead of basing it off of the staffing allocation.
Very tremendously.
It's a lot of work.
We can
I've
track,
seen what she uses to calculate because it calculates where all the taxes get allocated, where the insurance gets allocated, where the retirement gets allocated. It's not just the wages. It's a
So,
percentage of all of.
what I say is we keep status quo. We track, we're gonna track behind the scenes, which is what we've been doing for the last month and a half, 2 months, month maybe.
One month,
Month.
yeah.
Well, and whether you do it this way or what I'm suggesting, we're gonna have to track it anyway.
Yes, exactly.
And so there'll have to be a monthly accounting of the staff hours that were used that month towards the 002 account.
Why can't the work you
At a
do
minimum.
be transferred to them and then they have that information on a monthly basis?
It can.
Huh?
Can as a month.
That sounds to me.
We're just gonna give a report. Yeah, I say we leave the budget as is. We just keep do our reporting in the background. We have a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. I can just throw it out. Here's how much.
And then you
total.
just get to see on a monthly basis where the numbers are at.
Yeah.
And then you can have that on their meetings.
And then that'll gauge the following years.
And your committee then will see if they got red ink, they know that they
They need to
That's
slow.
overspent.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be able to see that on a monthly basis.
On a
which is
monthly
gonna be
basis.
even better than on a 6 months. Yeah, I think if that's the goal, I
If-
think that's a better.
well, if we're
Okay,
doing it
but-
anyway, it isn't creating additional work. That's the big thing.
Well, no,
But
we
the thing
started,
is-
tracking a
Yeah,
month ago.
yeah.
That is additional
Which
work,
is creating extra work, yes.
but it's the only way to get the true numbers.
True.
Well, it really would have been nice if we had had true numbers before we made the change. We just arbitrarily made the change. And now we're catching up to try and get the true numbers.
What he's saying is they put it forward and without any numbers to back it up.
Well, with
They
this,
were just estimating the amount of additional
but
time.
with this new,
And I will absolutely agree with them that there were additional hours spent this year on Pelican that were probably not budgeted
well,
for.
with the understanding that the way Doug was talking about the 6 month would be nice, but if it's truly a concern, having you all give Pelican the 1 month deals.
Yeah, they get them.
Yeah, they
I don't
will.
know how you get it any better than that.
Yeah.
You have
Tracking
right then
actuals.
that you're either on track, on course, or you're either underspending, which means you have some wiggle room, or you're overspending, in which case you're gonna have to cut back.
And at that, let's just say it goes well.
Yeah.
And we're not using as much staff time as that would be. Can we then move that money
Into
into
reserve,
the
yeah.
reserves?
Now
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
you're-
that's
That's
what Laura just
exactly what I think they're saying.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren's
said you
saying
get-
no,
No, no.
because that staff's
But
already
it's-
been.
But I
paid.
think it's not imminent right off the bat. You're gonna have to learn.
You got 6 months.
6 months minimum, I would think, to have an idea of where you're headed.
Yes,
But after that, Laura, what Doug just came up with is that at the end of 6 months, and we're doing this monthly tracking.
Yep.
And we're seeing something that is going to be to where it's a negative number. In other words, they're underachieving, underspending. Why can't they transfer and their committee then transfer that money to the reserve at that point?
Sure.
It's gonna go back at the reserves at the end of the year,
Yeah.
but I understand if you're trying to force your committees to stay within a defined budget, that's fine.
You're
We
just
can-
basically holding.
P-PAC can choose to move that money at their
It's
leisure.
basically saying,
I just want to
You just got a
hold their
leash on
feet
it.
to the fire.
Yeah, okay.
so you're, essentially
think
what's
that's the
happening
way
is
to do it.
there's a certain amount that where this is gonna cost. You have the budget, but you don't want to spend that much. So you're gonna hold your internal P-PAC to 50% of what your allocated budget is and hold it true to that. And hopefully that's what, so if we keep it the same, you'll get a monthly report out. At 6 months, you reevaluate, either stays as is, or at that point you can transition those funds to reserves.
So I'll add a staffing report to my financial report. I'll have like a 1-page summary, like this is what was allocated, this is where you guys actually were, and this is the.
And Daniel
the-
provides that
Well,
to the
and we also
chairs.
want to know
Matt.
what the hours were from the previous.
Oh, you don't
Right.
have that.
In other words, the percentages from last year, how many hours does that translate
We
to?
didn't
We
track.
didn't
didn't
track
do
that.
it,
We
yeah.
didn't start tracking it until May, so.
I understand that, but you should be able to take the percentages from last year and determine how many hours per person that is.
If they were all equal, you could, but if they're not.
Because how do we know if there's an increase?
Well, we didn't,
If we don't have
Oh,
a
I see what you're
baseline
saying.
being last year,
I got you.
I
how
can
do
give
we
you the
know there's an
budgeted
increase?
baseline.
Total is the only
yes.
thing you-
I can give you the budgeted baseline for 24 because we don't have actuals. And then I can give you what we budgeted for 25 and then what it actually is for 25. So you'll be able to see like in 24, yeah, we'll have some of 24, but not all, maybe like 4 months.
How about you work with Laura on what your vision is and we can come up with a.
Worst case scenarios, take 24 divided by 12.
You can
and have that
charge
as a
my
monthly
time
deal.
from-
Yeah,
for
all you
anything.
need is
That's
20
easy,
baseline.
right?
right?
And,
Yeah.
and Daniel, when you,
And what I want to do is use last year's percentages as that baseline.
Yeah.
So I
Take-
need you
Yes,
guys
you
to
got it.
translate that into hours then.
Yeah. They can.
but just know there's gonna be a variance, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Based on,
It's not
that'll
gonna
give you a
be perfect,
starting,
but it's-
it'll give you a
That's
meeting.
simple.
So Daniel, when you get engaged from Pelican, are we tracking who that initial engagement comes from? Because I would imagine, Carol, you want to make sure that, when you get the report, it says X employee, this project, this amount of hours, or what the task was.
Right.
You probably want to know who initiated that.
We haven't, Daniel Potter, Public Works Director, we haven't tracked down to that level of granularity, to be frank. There's email traffic, there's e-click fix traffic, but to track it down to that level of
We're gonna spend more
granularity.
time
is-
tracking. and
Well, no, but my
No.
point is, if you don't do that today, then Carol, you and Bob should take that back. And there should be, with your committees, there should be standard operating procedures and levels of engagement. Because to your point, you don't want everybody reaching out to Daniel. There should be an approval. If you want to manage that, you've got to have some
Yeah,
type
That's
of,
a whole different.
some
issue.
type of process.
That's a whole different.
Right now, Doug, the only one
But I'm saying that's
authorized
that's
is
what they're
the
saying.
chairman.
That's
The
something. for
chairman are
us
the
to
only
manage.
ones
Yeah.
authorized.
Yeah,
And you're absolutely right, Chelsea. We don't tell the staff what to do. They'll, but I need a baseline number.
What we
Say
need,
that again.
Say that louder for those in the back.
what we need is that when you get the information to them, you need somebody on your team that cracks the whip on where this thing's headed.
And truthfully,
It should be
I
the chairs.
believe the chairs,
The
they're,
chairs.
they're getting
That's gotta
there.
be that
They're
person.
getting,
We're just hitting a couple little road bumps, pipes in the roadway bumps, but, too early.
Yeah, too soon.
We're getting there. I think your vision and, we've had some new chairs and to, Bob's said, hey, let's divide or let's do this. The chair's the point of contact for Daniel. We've got an Excel sheet going with the projects and staff's tracking time. We're not going into, hey, we spent 25 minutes, painting.
So somebody's gonna have to sit back
The what?
after 3 months, after 6 months and look at it and just try to compare what has happened to make a decision as to whether you're on course or not.
yes.
It's gotta be probably the chair. That's the way I do it.
Anything else, Carol?
No,
So are you rescind your motion?
I didn't make a
Oh, you
mistake.
didn't? Oh, okay, I thought you did. Sorry.
It was just
I
a
was just
request.
bringing that up for budget discussion.
Okay.
And the things that P-PAC is going to recommend making changes on is going to come to you at the next meeting. in July.
They're already added into version 4, which you'll get at your July meeting. I wanted to wait until after we had discussion today, so I didn't give you a version 4 with just the P-PAC changes. And then if you made changes, have another version. So We're working off of version 3. I've started a version 4, which includes the changes from PPAC, which doesn't have anything to do with staffing. It's all
But
just
I-
committee changes.
But we want PPAC to vote on it
They did. Yeah.
in July.
Yeah.
They voted on it, but they wanted to see it
Yep.
all complete.
They'll have it for their
And know
meeting.
exactly what percentages were for, and how much that was going to increase or reduce, well, it's going to reduce the amount of taxes and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yes. That's all I had.
Yeah, I got a couple questions because I was confused. I took the version that we had at the last meeting and adjusted it at that meeting based upon the manipulations we made at the end. And I came up on the 001 account with everything in it of 1208.18, and on this one, it's 1204.74. Did we make other changes after the meeting last week that changed that from 1208 back to 1204?
Which page are you looking at?
I'm on page 98 of the one that's in the board book, and I'm on page 6 of the one at our last meeting, which was version 2. These are the ones we corrected at the end of the meeting, I
There's
thought,
that one.
because it gets more interesting. That's question 1. Question 2, go to the end of the
Why don't we
001.
take the questions one at a time?
Look, this one here might add to or solve her problem or solve
Okay.
my problem. Fiscal year 2025 allocation of shared cost, operational admin services. You go to the second page and the total is 1,113,000 enterprise, 30,23,905 Pelican, and 658 for Gateway Greens, okay? I go to the one we had last month at the meeting, exact same form, and the exact same numbers are in the exact same columns, and the totals are different. How does that happen? If any one of those numbers would have been different, I'd say, okay, that's easy. That's addition. Every number is exactly the same. In the one version 2, at the end of the last meeting, it was 1,106,000. Now it's 1,113,000 under enterprise. 323 versus 321, 658 versus 652. And all the numbers are the same. So they should add to come up with the same number. I don't understand how that happens.
There was a formula error in version 2 that was corrected in version 3. There was not all the numbers were all there, but the total at the bottom wasn't
They
pulling in
didn't
all
total
the
it.
lines.
So it was a.
That was a formula.
It was a
error.
formula. Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to find out. Because I went through also, go to the end of, let's go to landscape services. Because if I can see these, other people are going to see these and pick them out like unbelievable. Now I got to find it. Where's landscape
What do you want?
services?
Two over.
Landscape services. There it is. Okay, landscape services. The numbers are all the same, except you had 1915 in the budget from version 1, which is what's shown here on version 2. But then it goes to 3191, and the one from last month shows still 1915. Why, if it's 3% of the same number, why did it go from
That's
1915 to
the,
30?
where you changed it to 5% instead of 3, the note,
That's the
the note did
difference.
not
Oh,
get
okay.
updated.
Okay,
So you'll see that same thing in anywhere on the retirements benefits line. There's gonna be
That
a
is-
change between version 2 and version 3. It goes from
That
3
is-
to 5%.
everything right now, this version 3 that we're looking at with the pretty fountain on the first page,
Yep.
that shows 1204.74 with all the math, that is the current number.
That is the one that you approved. That is the high watermark that was approved at the meeting on the
Okay,
6th.
okay, I'd written down 1208, but anyway, that's no big deal. So the 1204, that's the number that where we're at right now, subject to any further changes we would make
Correct.
going on. Okay. Thank you. That formula deal, I don't know how.
Yeah, it was missing a line when it pulled in at the bottom. Steven and I both went and checked, make sure that all the totals were actually
Well, I said they're going
totaling.
through with a calculator,
So-
and I thought, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it was
This is
missing it.
ridiculous. I'm chasing a goose.
We had added a line and somehow at the bottom it didn't take that into consideration. So when we made sure we published with the version 3 that it actually included everything, that the totals were
Okay, thank you.
pulling it on. You're welcome.
Answered my questions.
So anybody else has anything? Bob, you have anything?
He just got up and walked away. I know there will be a change, but it does not affect the assessment. Chelsea and I were talking this morning. We realized that we did not include a line for overtime for utilities because we inevitably have overtime for utilities. Does not affect the assessment because it's not part of the, it's covered by the water utility and, or the water bill revenue and not the tax
So
assessment. So
when will be the next time that we will see a version 4?
at your next
18th,
meeting,
July
July 18th.
Have we done anything to necessitate that now, or will we do that
Pelican.
at that meeting?
Pelican.
Pelican
is-
has, okay.
Yeah, so if you don't make any other
So
changes.
you're the reason for version 4?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
So as
That's
of right
right.
now, that's the
I'll
only
take it.
changes
Okay.
is that.
I'll take it and I'll own it.
Okay, no problem.
And I'll make sure I update the notes.
We'll take version 5.
There you go.
I'll make sure that I
Please
update the
no.
notes for the retirement benefits to reflect the 5% instead of 3. The notes didn't get updated, but the dollars did.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so let's go ahead, 11B.
So
I'll move to approve 11B.
contingent upon receiving the insurance from PPCA.
Contingent upon whatever Chelsea just said. Receiving the insurance.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion.
So, and that would be adding us,
As,
adding GSCDD as a co-insurer on their
as an additional.
Additional insured.
Additional. insured, yeah.
additional insurer on their insurance. Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
I do want to call out real quick. I had a conversation. So in this PPERD agreement, we did not give them any type of access or control to the back access emergency road. I went down a rabbit hole this week into our emergency operations plan, and I will make it a point to put some policies and procedures in our EOP on the trigger of opening that access road, so that way it's documented.
But it does have provisions for contact numbers and information. That's in there. I
Yes,
think Carol was emphasizing that.
Which on emergency?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
What
Like
triggers?
an evacuation or
Yeah.
you're in the cone, it's coming.
We gotta have that.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's C already. All right, C.
We did see.
We
We're
did
good.
see, we're on D.
Okay.
I'll move to approve 14D.
It's not for. I think it's just for review, not for approval. We're not
Yes, it's
implementing.
for review.
Yeah,
For
it's for
comment.
review. It's not, yeah, I can't. You scare me.
For
I was like, I have
discussion.
a lot of notes, Carol.
Okay, well, I already talked to Tony. I had two things. On page 5, there was the whole discussion about point person. And I was asking him if we could include some clarification there. And then also on page 6, the second and third paragraphs. If somebody, for instance, at a subcommittee meeting, let's say the pond subcommittee meeting. The majority of the times, both Bob and I are there. And if either of us speaks during that meeting, that becomes a part of the minutes of that subcommittee. But it should also probably, Tony pointed out to me, that those minutes should be approved by the GSCDD
Us.
board also.
That's correct.
Even though only 2 in attendance.
Because it qualifies as a meeting under the sunshine law, even though it's not a formal meeting, like a regular meeting or a special meeting, but it is a sunshine law meeting for which minutes need to be taken and recorded.
You're just a partic, you're just there observing the meeting. You're
Right.
not taking part as a
Nope.
committee.
Well,
member.
No, there's.
But she participates.
Yeah, what I'm saying, they're not
When-
acting as committee members.
But there have been
Right.
times when under public comment, I have made comments at a subcommittee meeting or at a PPAC meeting, for instance. And those were recorded in the minutes of the PPAC meeting or the sunshine meeting,
Yeah.
because I filled out the slip. I put
But
down the
even
agenda
that, even if
item.
it's not, anything that you're gonna talk about, it is business of Gateway. So
Oh,
even,
just like
even
the
you can
board.
say here, I'm Carol, I'm the resident, I'm speaking as a resident, but because you are sitting on this board, you don't get to take that hat off. So I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the
So what-
conservative approach, as Carol mentioned, that the board would approve the minutes of the subcommittee meeting or committee meeting to the extent that those portions as to any interactions with board of supervisor members.
Because when I attend either PPAC or a subcommittee meeting, I put down my home address. because I am attending as a person who lives there
Yes, but then I get it.
and not as a
disagree.
CDD member.
Yeah, and then Carolyn, I did discuss on the
I have
page
a lot.
5, the clarification
Before we start.
I know, sorry.
on the point person part, just clarifying on that, on the point person part. Clarify that in the committees and subcommittees, and I think part of the clarification would be that the point person would be a liaison between the board and a committee or subcommittee to convey,
Guys,
you have a concern, Chelsea, or no?
Another issue. No.
Yeah, we were dealing
No,
with something.
is
I,
it a fire or is it a flood?
A line
Both.
break.
Yeah,
I believe, well, it needs to be board appointed liaison.
Correct, and part of the clarification would be that that person would convey to the subcommittees the collegial position of this board and bring back also the recommendations or discussions by the committee or subcommittee. And if the point person had a personal opinion that was different than the board, they could make sure they separate that out. That it's clarifying that they may have a different opinion, but here's the board's opinion on a particular topic. That's-
Or maybe we don't want liaisons anymore. I can see a point person. Because as Tony pointed out to me, like, with the metering project, we voted and this, on this board to have Ed be our point person on that negotiations committee with that
Or team.
litigation
Oh,
Yes.
or the team or
that full
whatever.
line deal.
That appears, a point person to me is sort of a, like a one-time thing, you know. So maybe we don't want committee liaisons anymore. Just a thought, and it's nothing that we have to deal with until November.
So those are your two suggestions that you gave to some?
Yes, page 5 and page 6.
Do you have any that right now? Okay, I have quite a lot, so I would like to go to the end.
Mine are even more basic. I'm trying to figure out where an alien goes to register. When I got on this board,
Pinch you.
That's the first one I've heard. I've never heard that
never heard
before.
that before.
No, you got me stumped.
I've got a book. I feel like the guy in that.
I have that book.
What's
I
the,
actually have that book.
what was the movie, The Few Good Men? I hold up the Gitmo
Yeah.
operation manual. I've got what I was given when I was a supervisor's handbook. I have another deal that I believe I got from you, Tony, that I've got that's a supervisor's handbook.
I think. maybe you
What
got
is the
that from-
origin
I
of
think you
this
may got that from
document that we
Infomark.
just got? Is this a brand new document that we never had?
If we back up a bit, I think you got that from Infomark, the supervisor's handbook, unless my name's on it, I don't know.
It says Anthony Pierce, Junior BCS notes, and I'm assuming that my question is what,
Well, we
is
have,
this stuff any good? Is it
I've not
applicable?
looked at that in a while. We have a couple, the board has a couple of documents right now. We have the overriding rules of procedure, and then the board adopted a protocol for meetings and also protocol for committees and subcommittees, which talks about quorum and
Okay,
speakers.
so my
and-
point is this
Trying to make
new
one document.
document, is it a new document that we've never seen before?
Yes, except to the extent of the appendixes, the appendices, they are referencing existing and current documents.
We're trying to make one handbook. That way it's clear because
Oh,
there's been
okay,
30
well,
versions
I'm-
of it.
I'm taking one step at a time. So what is the origin of this document? Where did this come from? This didn't just drop from the heavens.
The template came from.
I use the beaches. The beach has a handbook for their council members.
And I have edited it significantly,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Pretty sure the whole new
Who
document.
Oh,
authored this document?
It's a combination. Initially it was from Fort Myers Beach. I've significantly edited it. And Chelsea and I have been going back and forth on
So
the.
this is not
both.
not a document that you prepared based upon what we've got. It's came from somebody
But
else.
it's but then I modified it to try to be consistent or implement and complement what's currently
Amended.
existing.
What's existing.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's why the references, the overarching references, hey, whenever you have an issue, it's the statutes, the rules, and existing policies.
But the reason I ask is there's some stuff in here that I just flat ass disagree with. Us not being able as board members to be able to talk to a vendor. Ain't no way. Ain't gonna
And
happen.
that's a policy decision by the board.
Talking to engineer and that type of stuff ain't gonna happen. I've got to have that access.
So I have, like, so what I did is I literally highlighted everything that I had questions, I needed clarification, so I wasn't sure if you wanted to go over, because I have quite a few, like probably like 50.
I think this is a workshop.
So I can.
Okay.
That's
meet-
what I
can
think,
meet
too.
with
I think it's
Chelsea.
Doug,
and-
I agree with you.
So we
This definitely needs a workshop. It's 24 pages.
wanted to get you a draft and then that way you had an opportunity. And then if you want to dedicate an entire workshop, we
What
can
do
do
we have on
that.
the 18th?
A lot, not too bad.
We don't
We
have a
can,
meeting on the 4th, so we only have the one in.
we can
July.
schedule it for the August workshop. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a pressing matter. We're working on it. And then that would give you guys
August is fine.
plenty of time to review it and make detailed edits and maybe have a conversation with Tony. If you have any questions.
Okay.
But work back through him with comments or something?
Yeah, what I suggest is we can have one-on-ones. I can, mosey up here, we can do it on the phone and have one-on-ones, like I had a conversation with Kurt.
So those things that we got for, just to make sure that I understand this, the stuff that we got that was entitled board documents that came from Infomark, those had nothing to do with this.
Except to the extent that they might have some older rules or procedure in there. I'm not sure, Ed.
That's
I-
that's where I'm
You can share that
absolutely.
with me and I'll, I
Yeah.
think, when we sit down with.
My point was, Tony, I went back, I keep everything. I went back and I could not find anything that showed a transmittal or an approval of these Infomark documents by this board.
Yeah, it might have,
But I remember we were over,
I
you're,
have
you're,
this.
you're too young.
Thank you.
We were over at the Hyatt and we had a workshop that Infomark put on, and all of us were given at that time, given this, as I understand it, this document. I thought, you think I'm going to read all this? You're crazier now. But now that I read this one and look at this, I'm looking at a little bit of this in here. So I'm trying to figure out, does this book that I got from Infomark, does it even have any standing
well,
here?
typically what'll happen is, and I've seen other management companies do it, they'll create a booklet, like a compendium, which they call a handbook, for boards.
Well,
And
that's what this
That's
is
what
called.
this is.
and
that's what this
typically
is.
What it is. It's not something I've created. So
Okay, so,
I don't recall, I mean, I recall generally that concept. but I don't recall.
but the point is, this book that we got from Infomark, what I'm trying to get around is that book has no real standing here
Well,
I
right
think
now.
it's more of a, supposed to be like a summary and a guide.
Structure.
Let's,
Yeah.
guide.
let's
It's
do
It's a
that.
guide.
Let's
It's
do
a guide.
that.
Workshop in August.
Well, he can provide that to Tony and he can see if any of that's still applicable in today's world. And then we can incorporate it into the new book if need
What
be.
what I'm trying to do is, if you can't read between the lines, is I don't want to read all this stuff.
Okay.
I mean, there must be 150, 200 pages of absolute fine print stuff that I don't want to get.
Oh, and that handbook, yeah, a lot of them may be in copy. I don't, might be
Well,
in copies.
It's a lot of statute things, if I remember.
It may have been
correctly.
copies of statute.
Instead of saying you shall file 190, it says you file now in the following items are, and then it lists the whole thing. So it's a lot of redundancy.
Yeah.
So we'll
If I-
schedule this for the August workshop.
I will,
Okay.
do you, I know I've got that somewhere, but do we have the old Infomark? Do we have it digitally?
I don't know. I mean,
I can
I
look in
just
the
have-
share.
Look,
file.
what I may be able to
I
do
was
is, I
doing
may
it
be
to
able
Hyatt,
to
by the
take
way.
both documents,
I went
throw it
back,
in a system and see.
I went back to see
What
if
the
I
difference
had
are.
a transmittal of the document, either a Word or a PDF. I couldn't find it. So
Yeah.
I think all I've got was the hard copy
I'll
they
look.
gave me at the workshop.
yeah, and I never went to the Hyatt for anything involving this.
Yeah.
Who was that gal that was, Marilyn?
Was she a facilitator?
Marilyn?
Oh, Marilyn, she's with Infomark or
Yeah,
something.
that's who,
She's the
all my
secretary.
transmittals that were referenced to this subject were from her.
Well,
Okay,
if-
Marilyn Murphy.
we've
Yeah.
got her contact. So if
Okay.
we don't have it, we'll
Okay.
reach out. and
I
get a
just wanted
copy.
to find out because I started reading that and then I said, well, I've got this on a shelf. I gotta get the dust off of it. I looked at this and I thought, oh my God. What,
And I thought
what do we got here?
I thought I kept everything, but I did.
Because I think I might have a way to take both documents and compare them and see what differences are.
I know where
Yeah.
Cleopatra's buried, so don't even worry about it.
We can
I've
do
got
it
it all
on
covered.
Compare in Adobe.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I to understand, we're
Read it.
workshopping this now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're at
That's
the
the decision,
18th.
Okay.
No,
In the
no,
interest of time-
August
Six,
fir-
Oh, August 1st.
the
No.
first meeting in August.
August 1st.
Okay, all right,
Now,
move on.
let's make sure, is everybody, because this is, to me, this is a subject that, well, to me, it's not the most important thing in the world. We got a hell of a lot of other fish to fry, other than worrying about this. I'd much rather see us tackle getting these property owners associations and that stuff resolved instead of chasing this goose. But my point is that when we're gonna have a workshop, I would hope all 5 of us are here.
Yes.
Well-
And come with the.
Well, but here's the thing
notes all
too, which,
Printed to all of us. I mean, I have one.
well, you bring up a good point that are there other policies and procedures or other things that take priority over the handbook? I mean, our goal should be to have a new handbook implemented by, I mean, I wouldn't say in the next 2 months. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
I-
within the next
Yeah,
year, because, you know,
I'd much.
normally under normal circumstances, when we're having an election, there could be a chance we'd have different board members, so we'd want to do it by then,
Yeah,
but
but
I
that's
don't-
all changed now.
that, you know, we're gonna have the same board, you know, so there, I don't think it's a burning platform for us to.
And everybody recognizes August the 6th is a Tuesday,
It's August 1st.
August 1st.
I don't know if we need to do it that, so.
Okay.
At 2 o'clock?
I would say let's hold off because we're in budget and then make it a point to schedule individual time with Tony over the next couple months. And then that way we can incorporate it and bring it back when things aren't
It's what,
so.
like after
If-
September.
Yeah, look at August 15th, I'm out of town for my nephew's wedding, so.
If you like my first dose, you'll love the second dose.
You're gonna miss the hearing.
The second one, Tony, I've got is I'm sitting here looking at resolutions of the board that go back to 2005, 2004, 2006 that all have to do with how rules and regulations for protocol of our meetings. These are real. These are on the book. How are we, I didn't see anything in this book that starts out all previous stuff that you've had, throw it away,
It would
and
be-
supersedes.
That would be the resolution that you would adopt it. That would be stated in
next
that
one.
Yeah,
resolution.
this would be a resolution.
What it says, everybody have copies of all these resolutions that are currently what we've got that
I
we're
don't have
dealing with?
And there were some
Oh.
subsequent resolutions past 2005. I think. there
Well,
was
we
one.
had that chapter, what is it, chapter 6
I
or?
think there's like
617,
2011,
I think
we
there was
adopted more, but there would be a
I
resolution.
do not have any of those things.
Yeah, there would be a
And I would
resolution.
much prefer to do it in a workshop than one-on-ones.
My point is, how do we get copies of that stuff that we've done?
So
I don't want to
there-
just take and throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Let's see what we did or what was done in the past. Does it need to be
So
fixed?
then Chelsea and Tony work together to compile the agenda
packet,
for
yes.
the package for the workshop,
Yes.
which I do think maybe after September, so second week of November, because it's not gonna be that busy then, because it'll be new everything.
Because if you look at this one, it's funny. It's adopted January 10th, 2008. These are protocol and meeting procedures. It's amazing, the similarity between this and what was written. So I'm gathering that somebody went to a school somewhere and passed this around to all the communities or to.
Or it could be referenced in one of in the previous document
Well, he said
or
it's
in.
in-
True.
Yeah.
So I collect all this stuff and I was reading it. I was confused as
You wanna
can
pass
be.
this
The meeting, if you would let me have that so I can
$5.
double check.
And it's,
Well, we've got them all scanned
make
on.
a
I don't know that it's all everything.
Oh, we've got it on Municode. All I need to know is the ones that I need to pull, but part of the appendices that Tony was alluding to earlier is the meeting protocol and procedures. And so I think we just need to double check the resolutions of what's on the books, what's been amended, and make sure it's in this new
You
book.
used to have a set of 3-ring binders, black,
I'm sorry.
3-ring binders, big thick ones in there. And Tony, what did
Probably
we
still
call
there.
that?
Me.
Tony, what was that stuff called back 2003, 4? Chapter,
With number chapter,
was it chapter 3 of the rules? And then you had different sections of it. That's where this came out of.
I can't remember. We're getting going all the time.
But we had them in there in the office. That's where I checked it many years ago.
I'll get these back to you.
Okay, no problem. I don't like to reinvent the wheel and do stuff that if it's worked for all this time, why are we?
Yeah,
doing
I
this?
think a large part of it is highlighting certain aspects, primarily the decorum protocol, the public records, the email issues, because
Well,
a lot has changed both statutorily and case law and over the years.
it's now,
Subcommittees, yeah.
you have a
Subcommittees,
subcommittee.
yeah.
And that's why if you,
An advisory committee.
So do you want us to give you a date now, or you're gonna come back to us
We'll,
and
we'll just,
come back? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and.
yeah, and it also actually repeats itself.
So
what
we nixed the August deal.
Yes, no. So, let's go ahead and have district manager items.
so we have our monthly reports. That'll turn it over to Laura for
Any-
the admin.
Any questions on the admin report?
I don't have any.
I didn't have anything.
Have, just, I guess, question. the sheriffs, have you heard that people are complaining about speeding on Gateway Boulevard again?
I've seen the posts on social media. We stopped paying the speed, the traffic. And I did cancel the security patrols since the majority of the violations would be here anyway. But I mean, I can notify the captain and say, hey, we've seen this on social
And that's what
media.
I would ask. I wouldn't necessarily
Yeah.
think we should be paying for it, just utilize for more presence, because we cancel
I can tell
the
you,
detail.
I
but we
drive
didn't-
in and I can tell right after we canceled it, within about a week, the traffic is
It got, it got
faster.
worse.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought so.
All right, I'll report it to the captain.
Thank you.
It's out
I
of
think-
hand again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Out of hand.
That's all I,
Kids are out of school. Right. Anything else for admin?
no,
All right, who's up next?
Public Works,
Public Works?
anything for Daniel?
Anything?
nothing.
Two.
I don't have anything.
All right, thank you, Daniel.
Utilities?
I don't have anything. This is so fast.
Anything for Mr. Shaw?
You're good.
I'm gonna, if you don't have anything for utilities, I just want to do a,
Just retaliate, just go back into the thanking staff for,
yes, I can do that.
thank you.
Can I just do a quick plug for the Red, White and Pool, if you don't mind?
Sure.
For Carrie. So the Red, White and Pool is Saturday, June 29th from 10 to 2. There will be moonwalk and mooring, chuck axes, a DJ, Big Kahuna water slide, inflatables for kids and real axes, DJ Jimmy T Entertainment. We got face painting. We'll have a couple food trucks, the Chubb's Build-A-Burger, LCSO ice cream truck starting at noon, and Dave's Neapolitan Pizza. We've got some sidewalk chalk contests. We will need a couple volunteers to come judge. We're asking a couple prac folks to come at different times to judge, and a couple, maybe if you guys want to split the, we're referencing babies today. If you want to split the baby and
Thank you. You all can keep the baby.
Did we still have access to the dunk tank?
It sounds awful familiar.
I have no
a year
idea
ago.
what dunk tank. What dunk tank?
I thought we used to have a dunk tank, but
We know,
No.
we rented it.
We rented one, I know. I remember that.
I know that Ed said he would love to sit in the dunk tank for the day at the pool.
You put it over at Gateway Greens, they'll put piranha in it.
So there will be a hula hoop contest. The sidewalk chalk contest, if one or two of you would stop by and help us judge. Again, it's only a 4-hour event. We have the new PA system, or the new
She looked great today.
music.
It was,
And starts at what time?
10.
10 o'clock.
maybe we can
So-
rotate, like maybe somebody can do 10 to 12 and then somebody can take 11 to 1.
Yeah, that way you're not there all the whole time. So please make it a point. I will not be in town, but please make it a point to stop by.
You weren't there in the last time
I
too.
know, by 4th of July, I normally take off.
It's,
Yeah, this is the 26th agenda.
and
Right.
the weather
So-
last,
Same Indiana.
the weather last year was horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, South
Very-
Trail will be there. We've got the sheriff's office. We'll have some cornhole relay races. We have raffles sponsored by some vendors starting at 1 PM. So there's a lot of community engagement.
I can't remember if, are we having a big slide, like blow ups?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Are they the water ones?
yes.
Okay, and they'll be inside the gate?
I don't
Back
know,
corner?
I don't know exactly where she's planning
I
on putting
talked to
them.
Carrie about it and I think she said that she wanted to open up this time a little bit more, like what we have the fishing contest.
Okay,
Because the last time was too much
It's all
involved.
enclosed. Yeah.
So she.
So if it's wet, why not keep it in the pool area, like in the left corner?
Where the playground used to be?
That would make
So-
more
so-
sense.
talk to her and find out.
And it would
where-
also keep people at the pool
Yeah.
and
For that particular item, okay.
that one, yeah. Plus if it's split up a little bit.
Question though, is the drone working order? Cause this is the perfect time for us to take some
The
drone videos.
the parts that are broke, where they don't make them anymore, but I know Nathan was working on gluing the parts back together, so there was some training session done today. I believe that Nathan did over on the fields, but
He used to
Is it
work
something-
mowing.
The only way we
Are
could
they
get the parts
plastic?
are from,
Is it plastic pieces?
it's, I don't know
I have a
exactly.
3D printer now.
You have a 3D printer?
I do.
Laura's gonna 3D print it for us then.
And then did.
Yes,
did you
Nathan.
s-
Did you fix the drone?
The part should be in today or tomorrow.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, you did. So I think that's a
Food
good
truck.
opportunity for
Yep.
us to do some videos and put it out there.
Absolutely. Good idea.
Please.
Yes.
You said the fire department?
Yep, fire department, sheriff
They
will be
host
there.
people?
That would be cool.
You gonna be there?
They're hosting people?
Okay, then yes, we're hosting
People.
people. I don't know. I'll find out from Carrie.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
FPL could come, they'll hoses.
Just a couple other things. Speaking to all
Oh,
of,
I'm sorry, let me, one more thing before you move on. Are we putting, banners up?
yeah, yes, I believe so.
No,
The variable message board. We have the big variable message board that we normally put out.
Well, you got a big
We have-
opportunity on the 26th at the public, park
Oh,
Yeah.
to let people know.
Yeah.
I just know it, from being in this community for so long, it always, when we put banners out, it normally catches people's attention. We put them here at the front.
Both
and then-
ends.
and
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Do you guys at Stony Brook have an electronic board?
No, we used to, we got rid of it.
Okay, because that would be a
Yeah,
good idea. Silver Lakes does have one, and we
Okay.
could maybe reach out to the ones that do. Silver Lake does have one. And I know, I think you, or maybe Carrie and I talked about the electronic board at the entrance by the high school, partnering with the high school to put in the message there.
Okay, that's news to me, but we can talk about doing that.
Yeah,
Then, you said we have to rent, or somebody said we had to pay for it.
well,
Well, we have two variable message boards that we can hit at both, at the main entrances.
So they rotate,
And we have signs.
Got some
they
signs,
rotate.
date, time and things like that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Ready?
yeah.
ready to jump?
Yeah.
So
Completely different subject, or are you done?
I have a couple more things.
Okay. No.
Just to speak to the flooding thing, a lot of people don't realize that we were super fortunate with how dry we were prior to the storm, because had we been at a different pond elevation level, water control level, and we did get inundated with 14 inches of rain, it would have been a whole different situation. So just keep that in mind when you talk to your residents, that we're very fortunate here. So we have the Parks and Rec Town Hall next Wednesday over at the church. The Parks and Rec Advisory Committee will be there. You all will be there. We'll have the brief PowerPoint presentation. That was the agenda, and that was posted yesterday. Tomorrow at that church, Laura and I, we were invited. They have a vacation Bible school, and they're trying to teach their youth and teens.
About their neighbors. So
About-
they're learning about things in their community. So since we're a big part of the community, we're gonna teach them a little bit about like what is Gateway, what do we do?
Yeah, Randy put together a really nice presentation, so we're gonna go over there for a couple of hours and just teach the kids. So
These are the people in your neighborhood?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when throw the tomatoes, yeah. And then I will be on vacation. I'll be going to Indiana for my grandmother's birthday, and then to North Carolina the week of the 4th of July, but I will be leaving next Thursday evening. As always, you can call me if you need me. I might have to stand on one leg to get cell service, but you can call me.
I call her just for that.
Yes. FaceTime. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tony.
Yes, a couple things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Almost
Well,
got 'em.
I looked at you thinking you were gonna
Yeah,
ask.
I'm sorry. I was wondering why you were looking, but, okay, during the rain, did we have any public works issues? Or the utilities or anything? Did it
We
break
did.
any pipes or, I don't know.
Knock
What
on wood, no ma'am. We
Okay,
did
good.
have, because of all the lightning, we had a couple of our lift stations go on to the Thompson pump backup power, which that's exactly why we have those. We did have, we had a security camera get hit by lightning at the soccer complex. Everything by that Thursday night was that day was the bad day.
Mhm.
By the time we left the office at like 5, utilities, we were back, kosher. We weren't sweating as bad. Flooding wise, we were just back trucks running around chasing the calls that were coming in. Overall, we made out really well.
With the Thompson pumps, let's say like Stony Brook, where are you pumping that to?
It goes
Same
into
place.
it goes
Same
in,
place.
Same
yeah,
place.
Yeah.
Back
Just
in.
goes to the sewer plant.
yeah.
It's like a generator,
a bypass.
basically. Yeah.
So, again, training opportunities that we had, you saw staff running around like headless chickens, but with some of our newer staff, they were able to see things that they don't normally see on a normal day-to-day operation. But we made out pretty well. The tank in the back, because nobody irrigated, got pretty high, but we were good if we knew what we had to do if it got too high. So.
Did we have to do any 24/7 anybody had to sleep or any?
No, ma'am.
Mm-mm. Did we had a chance to utilize the new radios we got?
No, not yet.
If these water levels,
Chelsea, if I can interrupt 1 minute, I got to cut off at 5. Is there anything that anyone needs to share with me? I have nothing else to contribute.
I don't, Bob.
no.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
If Doug was here, he might be able to answer this, is that one of the things that we were lucky and you pointed out to is the water levels were really down. They're really down. If they hadn't been down, it would have been a disaster. To make sure this doesn't happen again, we might want to consider getting these waters, if we have to, go to the county, because they've been dropping. But this was the first time I ever saw the water breach both weirs 4 and 5, where you have the weir that has the cutout.
Mm-hmm.
You could not see the weir. The water just went over the whole top. That's dangerous. We might want to consider going out and opening weirs 5, lowering the water level down to control. Go to 4, lowering it down to control and just moving that water downstream right now while it can handle it before the next rain event.
Well,
comes.
we have to find out from if 6 Mile Cypress Slough can even take it right now with how much water, because that's where it
Well,
all
we
ends
gotta
up.
get, we gotta get approval, but that's
Yeah.
something, because all of my owners were screaming at me, open those gates, let the water go downstream. Without the understanding and the repercussion, those people downstream aren't too interested in that alternative because you'll flood them out.
And that's only the calls that I have was same exact thing. And then.
We were told to turn the pond pumps on, so we don't have
Turn
pond pump.
what?
Turn the pond pumps on. We don't have pond pumps.
Yeah, that's the only calls that I.
I've never heard
And
that.
we lowered the weirs.
Before Ian.
Yeah, before
That's-
Ian.
That was the first time since Charlie that we were given approval to
Oh,
lower
I
them.
thought we had lowered them.
We
No,
have.
you have to have
Ian.
permission, so
Exercising.
Yeah. that's different.
But that might be one thing. Do we want to look?
Yeah.
We don't want to sit here with that water going 6 to 8 inches over those weirs and have another 5, 6, 8 inches of rain.
Yeah.
God only knows 14 inches.
Well, and so,
But don't we have to get approval for
Yes.
that?
yes, ma'am.
To lower it?
As long as the water stays within the system, we can exercise our own weirs, but the second it leaves the system, we have to get approval. So when we were talking earlier, what was giving me heartburn is we have a ponds subcommittee member that is having a conversation with South Florida Water Management District tomorrow, unbeknownst to us, about exercising the district
What?
weirs. That's what I said.
That's
So,
what we were distracted with
Or
before.
deck.
a pond subcommittee member. And so,
In our pond subcommittee?
yes, so that's
I
why
didn't know we had a pond subcommittee.
Pelican does.
Pelican
Oh,
does.
Pelican.
So that's what threw me for a loop earlier, why we
Well,
were.
That's why we were distracted.
Here's the one thing that I'm worried about is just that this system is designed for so many CFS. I mean, slept since then, but I want to say 400. Did anybody go out and check Weir 2 at Pelican to see what the water level was versus our design? Because that would be argumentative to go to South Florida and say, guys, we're only doing what is necessary to protect us
Mhm.
to what the limit of our system is. In other words, we've taken all we can. We should not have to take any more and argue that we should be able to discharge.
We'll work on that
Because
for the
I'm-
next week.
If I didn't get a chance to go over to Pelican, but if I'd have gone down to Weir 2, and if what I saw at Weir 5 and Weir 4 was any indication, Weir 2, we probably were well over 400.
It was,
That would be scary.
Doug, I know Doug went out. I'll have to touch base with him. I know it was just like in yours, it was well
It
over
was going
and
over the
around
rivers.
and everywhere. So I think it's slowed down since then, but we'll have to go and
Yeah.
get
Well,
on.
it's just dropped down, but it's still well over control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So we'll follow up on that.
My deal is that if I'm on South Florida side, I am in a very weak position of telling you no, if I know you're at design level.
Well, as long as all of our municipal counterparts are on the same page and that we can release additional water, that's the key. That's where I think they would hold their hat. If the county and the city of Fort Myers said, no, we can't take additional water, then
That's when we go out and we indicate that we tried and we were turned down by the county.
exactly.
And they can call the county, they can call their commissioners and all that.
So we'll work on that over the next week or so.
But there, right now, I was getting the calls, why aren't you cranking those weirs open? And the answer was, there's no way in the world we could do
Yeah,
that.
there was the property that flooded in Pelican last time. Doug was keeping me up to date. The closest it got to their lanai was 8 feet. The last week. So,
Well, this is the first time I've had the water come into my lanai in 25 years. Came into the lanai.
Yours, at your
Yeah.
house?
See, I'm the lowest house in all of Gateway because of the disappearing edge pool. So it sunk down. Thank God it didn't get up to where it went over the drop off of the pool. But
Oh.
it was getting scary for a while. It's 8 inches deep. But
Right, that's all I have.
it is what it
Okay.
is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
I know, hold on, Connie, I know you addressed it and I know I stepped out, so I kind of, did you go back into so is staff attending this meeting tomorrow?
I sent an email. I've been preoccupied, but I told that gentleman it was inappropriate extremely inappropriate that he do that. So, well,
With South Florida.
Yes.
And they entertained it without calling us to say that, hey,
well,
that's strange.
we're gonna address it.
Yes.
So that is absolutely overstepping the bounds of a volunteer subcommittee group. So,
And then okay, and then I think you and I need to talk offline and then bring it back to the board, because I did go back to the pond standards. Because Bob said something to me that really made me rethink how it feels to me, and I don't use feel as much as fact, right? It feels to me that we're creating this divide. And I went back, and then his comment saying that there are things that in Gateway that they don't do a Pelican Preserve. So real quick, I went back into my computer and I was looking at the pond standards. The pond standards is for Gateway, inclusive of Pelican Preserve. It does not say anywhere that excludes Pelican Preserve. So littorals, everything. So that book goes for Pelican and for Gateway. So he brought it up that they're not adhering to that. Okay, now we know. So we have two options. Either we make them,
What?
they're not adhering to the pond standards. So we have two options. Either we make them or we amend it for something that it's comparable for both of them. So that needs to come back to the table.
I thought they
Yeah,
approved their own pond standard
but later,
over and beyond what
the-
we did.
exactly, and that's what I was trying to say to him, like, if you want to do something extra,
But
But-
you're saying it never
But
came
you
through
can-
here this board.
exactly, and you can,
That's
that's a problem. And when he brought that up, and I was like, I didn't realize that they were going all out there. So I don't have a problem if then either we amend what we have and would then have to create a ponds committee, which is gonna incorporate their members and Gateway members, because it's all one, right?
Mhm.
Or they're gonna adhere to that document, because I can tell you, the first 3 pages that I went through, there's a lot of stuff that, by what he said and what Doug said, that they're not following.
what we'll do is we'll pull both of those documents.
There's
And
only one document.
their version of their
That's the problem.
their version of their
The
document.
board, we, the board, adopted one document.
Understood.
Okay.
We'll pull both and show you the discrepancies of the two and understanding where there are issues
Yeah.
on that side.
Now, and I think what you're saying is if they have things that are above and beyond that still fall within our regulation, I don't think we would have a problem with that.
Well, I guess it depends on which line item they
Yeah,
are.
as long, if they've got additional
Requirements.
requirements, as long as they don't contradict.
But then we amend our document to say those
Well-
additional requirements are requirements.
But I don't know if we,
that
I
for
don't know if we need to
Pelican
do that. If Stony Brook says, hey, or maybe Pelican's a better area. But if they want to have more littoral standards or something like that, as long as it doesn't contradict us.
But it does. So I'm just gonna give you one example. If I live at Pelican Preserve and I don't have a development, I don't have a DO requirement to have littorals behind my house. If I go to them and say, I want the littorals behind my house removed, I don't have to give a reason, right? As long as I don't have erosion and I don't have a washout and I don't have a water quality issue, they must remove it. That's what the document says. But I will tell you, if you request stuff to them, it's no.
Ah.
It's a flat out no. They do not remove littorals, period. So that's a problem,
So
My understanding was that
right?
because Pelican had done their ponds so much earlier than Gateway is doing theirs or has done theirs, that Gateway basically took their
Mm.
things and adapted it for Gateway.
Not at all.
No, we create our own.
I mean, here's where it becomes challenging when you've got a group like Pelican that's been operating pretty much independently for a long time until recently. They've got committees, you've got volunteers, you've almost been operating on your own. Until we decided I don't know how many years ago, that we need to bring everything. It's all a gateway. We all need to do the same thing. So I think that's where we're starting to run into some of those examples of there being, well, this is the way we've always done it
Mhm.
versus today. And I think we need to be very delicate as we navigate through the situation.
Well, that was gonna be,
And I
is
agree,
this a
and-
priority
and I-
right
and
now?
I- And I don't think it's let's follow the document right now. It's like, let's bring this back to the table and then we amend our document. But it's going to be amended for the whole gateway, including the Pelican. So if it's something that's Pelican is doing great and it's working, it can save us money, why not adopt it here? But this board has to adopt it.
The argument's always going to be it.
We know the items or the issues that are gonna.
Yeah, because they don't pay the same as everyone else. And so there is some exceptions. There's always going to be a conversation of, but what,
Well, the issue comes down to is whether you're gonna have compliance to achieve a development order or you're not.
Mhm.
That's the
That's
bottom
it.
line.
I
And
agree.
that's where we separated trails the last time. A lot of our development orders are old. They go back to 86, and theirs are newer, and they have provisions that we don't have. And they wanted to implement their provisions on
Into
our
us.
development orders, and you can't do that.
Yeah,
And
and
it
all,
made it very difficult.
and also Pelican Reserve has a separate PUD document for that, in the city of Fort Myers versus Lee County. So I'm not sure if, I'm not exactly sure what the differences
And
might
I
be.
brought it up just because, given that it's the Puns committee that are having that meeting tomorrow, I think.
I thought you said only one person from the Ponds Committee was.
But representing being the liaison for it, right? Tomorrow's meeting, we didn't even know.
Well, if
What
you have, a-
tomorrow- that, what I brought up,
if you
sorry.
have a person that's a ponds committee member over there, and he's going and he is called up, independent of indicating that he is representing either the CDD or the ponds committee, but he's just an interested citizen going over there. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Can't stop anybody from doing
I was
that.
inquiring
But-
about us exercising that we're on,
He's got a problem then. That's
Yeah.
getting into our
He's
stuff.
got, I'm sorry, what?
exercising the new adjustable weir that we just put on pond 38. So we were just notified of this afternoon because he reached out to Stephen Agapi directly and Stephen fortunately included us into the
Who
email.
did? The Ponds committee member
The
as well?
Ponds committee member.
why don't you guys
Yeah.
continue to take this offline?
Yeah,
I just, again,
Okay, Tony,
Yeah,
go ahead.
just make sure that they understand that.
And the deeds to the district, been following up with Charles Mann's firm and continued that, including today. So we'll just keep bugging them about getting those final parcels, primarily in Pelican View, that the district's gonna take. On the admin building, been working with Chelsea and Eric Fye on that as far as the bid hold documents and all the addendums. And so that's on track. The infrastructure easement ownership identification, we have just one more document left. I think it's agreed upon. We just had a question by new counsel for PPCA as to the attachments for the landscape agreement for tree line and Pelican Reserve Boulevard. That's been resolved without having to have a sketch and legal description. So, and I also noticed a slight correction that needed to be made. And I talked to Will Cronin today. They've had the document. He sent it to me. So I'll get with Katie Berkey, who's the new attorney for PPCA on those easements and wrap that up. And so we can hopefully have those
Oh,
at the
really?
July board meeting. Yes, it'd be nice.
that'd be nice.
So that'd be the Prado landscape buffering and Prado little strips, and then tree line and Pelican Reserve turn lane
Okay,
is on tree line. On Genope, that's the IT vendor. We finalized it and sent to Genope's council. It was a massive document that we had to substantially heavily edit along with Chelsea and Laura.
Was it
Yeah.
their paper or our paper?
It was more in their favor, the initial version, so we balanced it more. And also.
it was theirs to
It was
start.
their initial
Yeah,
paper.
It was their document.
and
yeah.
it was a monster document, and some of the terminology we didn't like, but also just some substantive provisions we didn't think would be appropriate or work well. But I think we have a good working document now if they accept it. The FPL easement consent to use, we provided them with, we had some good conversations in the past with two alternatives. Was that we would give them the insurance for the insurance for any activity that they're required under the consent of easement before we begin construction. So we don't have to do it now. They wanted us to name them as additional insured That would be $8,000 additional premium. I think Chelsea and Laura got the
Yep.
quote from our carrier. And so they're reviewing that, as well as they also had agreed to some other minor changes. So hopefully that'll get wrapped up in the next month or two.
Just a question. So like, we were looking at FPNL as a possible area to do, I don't know what you call it, Ed, like just,
Irrigation spray field.
Disperse,
Yeah.
disperse,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know you can't dump that in a pond, but if there was like, were we talking about the area down towards
Oh, right.
Stony,
Right over here.
just where we can
We
dump
ha-
it?
We have to get the redundancy project that Steven said we're waiting on, that HMGP money. Those mains have to come down first. We did part of that design plan on where they were gonna put in taps to have a potential future irrigation spray field.
So we would create an area.
It would just irrigate the easement.
Yeah. just
The
irrigate
grass.
The easement, the grass.
And FPL has height limitations and some others. I'm not sure what the other issues might be, but
Yeah.
they have height
The
limitations.
big one is the height. That's
That's the biggest one, as well as any interference with their facilities, but typically it's
It's
the height.
nothing we would do would interfere with that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I see some other FPL facilities around, like in Cuyahoga County, even in Lee, where they have soccer fields over by Terry Street, for example. And as well as there's a Royal Palm Academy in Naples, they have some other shade structures, so hopefully they'll be cooperative with that. And on that point too, we been working with them on Chelsea on a laydown agreement for the storage of the poles and everything for the street lighting conversion. And they wanted an indemnification from us. And we said we want indemnification from them. They said, no. We said, wait a minute, you want indemnification from us? So they're looking at it. Chelsea did a good job of saying, hey.
Pot, kettle.
That was pretty good, actually. The Milner contract copy machines, I still need to just follow up to make sure we have the right documents to dispose of the surplus, but those are all resolved. And from the paperwork and payment perspective. Board policies and procedures, you had that too. We're going to be workshopping that. Yeah.
As we're thinking about that, do we need to put provisions in the documentation for the committees, and subcommittees about
It's there.
engaging?
It's actually there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in
Yeah.
there.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's good. Toss them up. It's always good to have them come out. Stony Brook roads and streets, waiting for the AGO. I'm going to have Katie Berkey asked me if I had heard anything more from the Attorney General's office. I had not. I'm having my assistant contact them tomorrow. Again, last time the response was it's in the queue. That's what
Say it again.
it's in the queue. And they do it based upon,
Phone receive, yeah.
whenever time,
Whenever that's their
whenever it's
parade.
received, we get in line, we get in the parade. So, talk to Katie also about the invoice. We're gonna have a call with Katie on Monday. I've reviewed the invoices that came to me. We're treating it as confidential and exempt for the legal services, and I labeled them for my purposes, red, green, yellow, to have some conversations with her.
That was the ones where Stony Brook wanted reimbursement.
Yeah, what I could recommend to the board would be appropriate to that, to
So-
say,
Tony, so ideal scenario is they come back and give us a decision that allows us to turn those roads over. If for some reason they don't, and then we've got an issue between Stony Brook and Katie, their position on who owns the roads.
I understand we have
And
different.
ours. So
And-
are
and
you
also-
still consistently pursuing an agreement, or is it our thought or our position versus
Yeah,
their assumption?
Katie and I disagree, and Charles Mann and I are on the same page, and she disagrees with him. Because that it's always intended, I mean, Charles has always taken the position that the district owns the roads. And we are the owner of the roads. And he's conveyed that to Katie, and I found some old emails of his also.
Yeah.
So I have some other ways to possibly address it, but I can chat with you about it and maybe the board separately, but and Katie too. We've talked briefly about an alternative approach.
Okay. My position was
The idea is
to have a, like a secondary, like if this, then that. I don't want it to have to wait to that point, because I think, hopefully everything goes well, but if it doesn't.
we've had some initial, my recollection was some initial conversations where, some people may characterize litigation sometimes as friendly litigation, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't end up in that position.
But but again, there's,
Strategic moves.
Yeah. Okay.
yes, there's might be another way to address
That's
this and
fine.
skin the
Yeah.
cat. The Pelican Reserve, the new service provider agreement that's been tabled, that P-PERT was taken care of today. The, let's see here, district funds, that's still pending.
Yeah.
With Laura and Chelsea and
Yep.
trespassing conservation area. I received a snarky, I think is the technical legal term, a letter from the attorney from the brewing company, who now then went to the law firm. And basically, the tone was incredibly unprofessional, quite frankly. This involves, they're behind the
The
brewing.
dumping.
Yeah,
that's
there's a trail and
running
there's
to
some
us.
waste. And so we got this letter back that I thought was totally inappropriate and offensive. So I replied back yesterday and got back appropriately replied. I
Yes.
the higher road. And if y'all want to see, we can send it around to y'all.
Yeah.
But, I
Yeah,
also
please.
copied,
I'd like to see it.
yeah, I copied the same people, but also I copied the same people. They copied, Cecil Pendergrass, County Attorney, South Florida, Lee County Natural Resources, Lee County. So we'll send those around. Chelsea, if you want to do that, or I can do that.
You can send it.
That's surprising because the owners have always been huge supporters of Gateway and are just really super nice people. That's surprising.
Yeah, it was like, excuse me.
Okay.
Basically, it's not against the law in Florida to place feed to entice hogs on your property for hunting purposes.
What?
That was part of the argument.
Okay.
And what my response to that was,
I'm beginning.
okay, you didn't cite to a statute. I'm not sure what the law is on that. However, it's you're placing, if you're truly placing waste on the property to draw hogs next to conservation lands near a residential community, we find that inappropriate.
Yeah.
So I mean,
This is just for the disposal of their.
yes, but I attached a number of aerial photographs and we'll send it around.
Okay, yeah,
All-
please do.
All 3 documents.
Yeah.
The initial letter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
we'd love
the
to see
original
it.
letter, their letter and mine. Yep. Let me make a note. I'll call it, send the C and D letters. The committee members attending other committees, that's in the protocol. Practices the gatehouses, I'm about ready to wrap that up. What I might need to do on that, under Florida law, when you're talking security issues, and this technically is security or access control issues, the board can have a closed door session with regards to that. And that's a product of 9/11 and a number of other factors. Because there's one component that I would not want to have a public discussion about.
Yeah.
And so we may need to schedule that after we have a closed door session with the subcommittee for PPAC, the Safety and Security Subcommittee, or the Stony Brook folks also.
Okay.
So, and that's, whoops. Daniels Parkway Apartment, Chelsea and I have come up with an alternative plan. I need to run that by the developer's attorney as a way to adjust this as a compromise. Use of connection fees for attorneys, admin building, I'm a bit behind on that. And the use of the $600,000 restricted funds to pay for the FY25 light bank design. That has already been, I'm fine with it. We had a conversation with Stephen, Laura, and Chelsea and I. These are monies that were paid, additional assessments. It's sitting there surplus in a sense. And I've gotten back to Leslie on the rate notices. I just need to look at the proposed changes to the rules.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions for
Yep.
Tony? Right. Agenda management, Chelsea.
All right, so we have the commons plan, got it quiet, hopefully on the 18th, we do have a couple customer contesting of bills that you may come in front of you. We're doing our due diligence in the background. As you can see, we're trying to wrap up a lot of projects. Do you have any suggestions for the President's Council meeting in July that you'd like staff to have topics on? So obviously utilities will have the box replacement and meter box project. I feel like we keep having the same topics over and over. So that's why
Would you push it out? Push it out to the.
Ask them.
okay, good idea.
What's the status of the bids on the admin building? What date are we doing it?
The 16th,
16.
Of July?
yes.
So you'd have something to talk to them about the admin building and the pricing and everything.
Just talking about the admin building really quick. I know we looked at all the designs and all that kind of stuff, but do we have like what the outside texture is going to be like, the colors, like all that stuff? Are we there?
No. Well, the texture, yeah, because that's specified in the contract. But
Is it,
colors, I'm waiting on the branding, like the paint color. I'm waiting on the branding to be done, and that should be,
flat and stuff?
yeah, it'll come to you, and the branding will be coming.
And then landscaping as well will be,
The landscape architect will,
okay.
there are certain code requirements we have to do, but for the most part, the LA can design it.
And I'm glad you said that because what we do there dictates our style for the rest of the commons
Yep.
area and what we would probably adopt
Yep.
in existing areas as well. Okay, thank you.
So just touching back on, if you can go to the priorities tab, does anybody have anything that they want to add or want staff to work on or bring forward? We'll push it.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because it's being held at Pelican, on the 23rd, on July 23rd. One of the things that has come up a number of times at the President's Council meeting at Pelican Preserve, which are all the individual associations that they have their own President's Council. They do not meet in July and August, but is irrigation. And I think it would be important for you to have at least a topic there of irrigation and remind people what we are not responsible for.
Is this the irrigation that is under us or the irrigation's under the city? So the majority of theirs is under the city.
Correct. About 2/3 of Pelican is under the city of Fort Myers. And about 1/3 is under us.
I
Okay,
think a lot of that's still up in the air, but we can give what we know to be true to date. But we can put that as a small agenda topic.
What's? the-
more
I don't
or
understand
less
the issue.
was the topic of so supposedly it's controlled, the irrigation is controlled by,
Satellite?
yes, satellite. And if the computer says it's being watered, but there's no water being put on the ground. That's the situation that a lot of the individual homeowners associations are finding themselves in. So they go back to whomever is controlling it and they say, nope, it got watered between so-and-so this time and this time. And they go to the actual property and somebody is standing there and says, no, it did not go on, it did not go off.
Here's what, okay,
That happened to us.
I've had this over my deal.
So I don't know if that's a problem in
Well-
Gateway, but that has come up
Well,
at,
here's under our new irrigation system, that we have feeders going out to all of these areas. We take to, for example, we have one, a community like Callaway Greens. They do all their irrigation internally with their own, company that does their landscaping. We turn on and we set the water to go there, but that doesn't mean they turn on their side to water because they don't want to spend money. That is a problem what we run in this new system we put in. All the common areas we'll take care of. But if we have customers that are large volume users that have large meters, they don't turn that meter on. Nothing we can do about that. And that's what people need to understand, that if they have a in between and the water doesn't go directly to the customer, like in my house, our water goes directly to my house and it comes on because I have a system to turn it on. But if your management companies and or your boards elect to save money, it's turned off. And
Well,
people will
anyway,
think that it's
I'm
the
just
source
saying
of the
that
water and it's
that
really
might
not.
be a topic that comes up because it's
Good
being
point.
hosted at Pelican.
Okay.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Anybody has any other questions for Chelsea on the agenda management?
Well, I'm going back to the
Yep.
President's Council. Probably good timing for us to go over hurricane or storm emergency management procedures,
Yep.
plans, overview, like what we can,
Yep.
what we're doing, what HOA leaders should be doing in their communities, what can they
Sign the
expect?
right of entries.
Yeah, what happens in the event of
Go
a,
ahead.
you
We
know,
already did it.
Right, good idea.
And then a little further down, you have September of 2024 strategic planning with Lorna Kibbe.
Mhm.
I would like to suggest that we go ahead and schedule something now in September, since we know the composition of the board will stay the same. So, because I would, during that time, I'd like us to not only set goals, but be able to account for those goals throughout the budget year then. And to do that, you kind of need to set your goals before you actually start your budget.
And also, what is
Which
our,
is October
what is our
1st.
procedure for, validating that like quarterly?
Right.
And where we're at to plan. Like, again, if something comes in, all right, is it critical? Is there a legal liability reason that we have to do it? So where do we fund it? Is it on the priority list? If it's not, how do we get on there?
It's on
You know,
priority.
Yeah, so there has to be that like quarterly or at least twice a year. We should have that exercise. We go through, here's our CIP, here's all our projects, where are we at? Just to kind of keep us on, and it's great to have unallocated dollars, unrealized, from the end of the year, but we should really know what that is going to be,
At least.
before or sooner than 6 months after.
Yeah.
The budget, because we should know what we're not
Live
doing
late.
and why, and
Late.
we should know that, like, from a sequencing perspective, because if we have dollars, we can reallocate to other priorities to get done that year. So there might be some things in next year we can pull forward because we got funds that we're not going to realize.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Keep going.
that's it.
So, again, district priorities, this is what we've got. We moved, you guys asked to move one up last time. The irrigation system replacement, I think that's the one that got moved up. So speaking of that pond thing, the pond standards, is that, you want that done like sooner than later?
I don't
Or
think there's
a
rush
rush?
for it. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we'll put it as a task, but it won't be done tomorrow.
I knew, that's what when you said that, I was like thinking, oh boy.
Yeah, I thought we put that baby to bed a while back.
Love to forget that one.
Okay.
We should just put it.
Is there any,
65, that's a good number.
they, any changes on this? One last topic on just this. Stony Brook the box replacement was completed in the test in the pilot areas in Stony Brook. They're moving to Pine Woods Monday.
Awesome.
Meters.
Yep.
Everything as expected.
Yes. They haven't gotten to the hard communities yet, so it's as expected right now.
The worst is last.
All right. Your committee, I think there's one more for next fiscal. I think Georgia put out all of this calendar for all of the board, committee, and subcommittee meetings. So if you want to print this,
PC is President's Council, if you're wondering what this is.
so that way you can mark your calendars for the next year. Tentative, this is a tentative schedule. We have to advertise for it, but everybody's penciled in.
Okay, so just so you know, then, I will not be physically present on December 19th, 2024. It's a couple days before Christmas and we have to go north.
Cancel that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally you cancel September meetings too, but
Yes.
Make sure that it's.
What did the payroll look like? Yeah. We ran out of money in November, no more meetings in December.
Oh.
That was why I sent out the email saying, hey, you guys aren't getting a check this time because there was no meeting. So, yeah.
Oh, like it is.
well, if you want to cancel the September ones, you can do that too,
We need to find the lobbyist up in Tallahassee to get our pay increase. Why don't you talk to Cecil about that? So we don't run out of
That'll
money.
be Gene now, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's the actual lobbyist. Has
We
some
talk
power.
about.
Okay, so.
But seriously though, if you want to consider canceling the September ones, that's when we normally do our year-end reviews with employees, or at least
And I'm getting everything ready to get loaded in for budget and trying to
At
get
least
the end done.
one of them. I would appreciate the reprieve, so we have staff.
Or
time.
we do one,
still
those contract documents, we've got to get on that. And that we can't put off. That would be a good one that if we meet, have it just basically
that.
full workshop for just that and
Yeah.
get that thing hammered out.
Okay. Yeah, because then that doesn't require me to have the full staff and.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm fine
Okay.
with that. Yeah.
And we'll
Yeah,
just,
the
we'll
ball's, the
pick one.
ball's in his park right now.
Tony, you
To
know,
get, Tony's, to get over to you, those items that we definitively have to have for statute that goes in these books. That's gotta be where we start,
Okay.
because that's where we come back to and cut and trim
Yep.
and get some of this stuff that Bob and Doug are talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Anything else? All right, so let's go ahead and move to supervisor comments. I'll start with Carol.
Fire warrants,
Haven't
or
heard.
the fire thing. Did you
Fire
ever get
impact
hold of the
credits,
fire
yeah.
guy?
I have not, and I even CC'd his daughter on it cause she's moving into it, so. I emailed, I think 3 times since when he first brought it up and after the last meeting. So I'll pick up the phone tomorrow and call the gentleman.
Do we need a contract with somebody else? I mean,
We can consider that if you want.
we have not been given any more time, right?
No, we have
By the
not.
county,
We have not.
and we only have how many months left?
April.
Next year sometime.
Next year.
I think it's like, yeah, we've got about 10.
It's April 20.
I will,
I think so.
I will, I will call him tomorrow. Light a fire, no pun intended. And, if I need to, I'll reach out to another broker and see if there's anybody else that is around.
Okay. That's all I got.
Doug?
With our new system, with the fobs
Uh-huh.
access, are they all the same for dog parks, pool?
No,
They're all different systems.
no, it is the same system. It's the same system. The keys are different. Like,
But wait,
The same card
they
can work in
they
multiple
can utilize the
places,
same
yes.
key for both things if they are the same numbers. They have that ability.
Okay, so I would love for the members of the board to have a fob that gets into the dog park and the pool. And in addition, I know when I'm out here at this park quite often, mostly when the leagues and when they're running, because my boys still play. And if ever there's an issue in the past, I had, a set of keys to the gates or whatever, I could get into the concession stand to get something. Now that we've gone the fob system, I don't have that access anymore, which would be nice because as an example, there was an event out here on a Saturday. There was some holes in the field that needed to be filled. So what I would do in the past is I would just go into the concession stand, get a bucket and a shovel and fill that up myself without having to call Daniel or someone to come out. I didn't have access to the facility. So I literally drove home, got a shovel. And so I would love to have access to the buildings here. If the board agrees. But I think we should all have access to the pool and to the dog park, and maybe we all have access to the, to.
I'm
the-
fine with this door here, so I gotta stop texting Al and Daniel to open the door.
The front door or the,
The front door.
yeah.
well,
So
why are
maybe
you,
we can have
why
a
are you
discussion
coming
on-
here? You meet with
You
staff?
sleep, didn't you see my bed back there?
No, we did get a cot, so.
Maybe the discussion is,
cats.
what do we need access to, as a board
Yeah.
member? And,
My experience is your access would be similar to the public's because of the equipment and things. I would, not that I don't trust any of you, but
No,
the
but
least amount of
just
access,
here,
the
no,
least amount of access to the shop and the new shop coming
I
in.
agree there,
And even at the concession stand, there are tools and equipment in there right now.
because it's no longer a concession stand.
Yes.
So I understand the purpose and the intent of it, but
We'll put
We
a
have a
fence.
partition.
Yeah, we have a partition, so yeah.
correct, but the equipment and tools that he needs is beyond that first door unless we stage it there, which I'm fine with that. I absolutely think, are you gonna charge Pelican $120 for a non-resident dog pass and pool pass? But-
No, because she's going there as a board, her duty, as a fiduciary duty, as a board member. She's not going there with her dog or she's
Yeah.
going there to check, so I don't.
I was
think-
being facetious, but yes,
No,
I
you-
strongly, I wholeheartedly believe the dog park and the pool, the concession stand. I mean, if it's only to that first door, I mean, that's what we give the leagues to, and we need to put a shovel and a bucket there. We can do that. There's always a shovel and a bucket down at the dog park.
yeah, well, let's at least make sure that everyone
Think
has
about it, yeah.
access to dog park and pool.
I can have Georgia set those up. You guys, she can do them tomorrow if you
Yeah,
wanna.
that'd be great.
She can let you know when they're ready. It takes her just minutes to do it, so.
Yeah.
Ed?
Where do we stand over there with our good friends at Worthington? that just kind of fell off the radar.
Daniels Parkway Apartments.
Yeah.
Tony has to talk to their legal counsel.
That's the one, I'll check. Yeah.
More referring to the irrigation issue.
Yeah, we have. I haven't had conversation with the council in a while, but Chelsea and I have a discussion point to talk with them about ways to try to resolve it, and then we'll come back to the board with it if it's acceptable, but
We're still working through it.
still trying to work through it.
I don't have anything.
Motion is adjourned.
All right, second. All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Thank you.
See you, Michael.
Thank you.
Call you Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.